Chapter 1289. The aura of death condensed and rose from the ground like huge clusters of black smoke. When they reached the top of the mountain, they seemed to be even closer to the boundless blood cloud above their heads. Hee-hee, rumble, the incomplete roars of the dead creatures were mixed with the sound of the earth rising. Sensing the anger of Su-yi and the rest, huge beasts broke through the soil and pounced towards them. 7 or 8 of them appeared in an instant. Kill! Wei Hong roared and his aura surged. As the clouds gathered and rain formed, the fine raindrops fell like thousands of swords, falling straight on the dead creatures on the ground. PFFF, 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 the rain of swords weaved into a terrifying fine net. Waves of cries rang out, and killing intent surged. Every single drop that landed on a dead object would leave behind a small hole. Thousands of swords fell together, turning the dead creatures into honeycombs. The momentum of the attack was greatly reduced. At the same time, Ling Feng, Hao Yidao, and the other experts of the Blue Cloud Hall also attacked at the same time. Numerous attacks were launched, and the numerous dead creatures that had approached them were instantly disintegrated. They fell to the ground and turned into piles of broken bones. As expected of a 9th-level origin emperor, the power of this attack is extraordinary. Su-yi estimated that Wei Hong's cultivation was indeed very strong. His overall strength was probably not much weaker than Impermanence Fairy. Several dead creatures were injured by the power of the Rain of Swords. Ling Feng, Hao Yidao, and the rest were able to defeat them easily. Let's go! Wei Hong carried the group and rushed towards the front of the mountain. However, this place was like a huge graveyard. There were too many dead creatures buried here. They were even more powerful when they were alive. There were countless dead creatures that had not completely decayed. As the group walked, the dead creatures climbed up. There were more and more of them. Together with Su-yi and Feng Qier, the group of 10 advanced quickly. They were all relying on Wei Hong's strong support to kill a path through the dead creatures. Su-yi did not attack immediately to prevent the people of the Blood Sun sect from seeing any clues. Only when he went even deeper did he release the primordial origin supreme art that he had been suppressing. A terrifying aura circulated, and a large number of dead creatures rushed in front of him. When they touched this aura, they fell into the void like dead fish. Wei Hong and the others were all fiercely shocked because of this, and they looked at Su-yi with even more respect. The rest of the journey was much smoother. The primeval chaos supreme technique formed an aura of 100 feet around him, preventing all living things from approaching. There's nothing but an aura of death. I can't see any signs of life. What the hell is this place? Wei Hong mumbled as he looked around. Look, it looks like a weapon, someone exclaimed, pointing at a straight black shadow in the distance. When he got closer, he saw a large halberd stuck into the ground. The tip of the halberd was buried in the soil, so he couldn't see it clearly. The exposed halberd shaft was as thick as the mouth of a bowl. It was mottled with rust and had almost corroded through, turning into a lump of iron. Even after being corroded to this extent, it still has some spirituality. This thing is extraordinary. Wei Hong pulled up the halberd, stirring up the soil. He took it in front of him and looked at it carefully. When he injected his primordial qi into it, there was still a brilliance circulating. A strong murderous aura suddenly gushed out. Su-yi's primeval chaos supreme art's aura was directly pierced through, bursting like a bubble. Puff, an origin void realm martial artist, suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was as pale as paper. The rest of the people also retreated in horror, as if they had suffered a heavy blow. Suddenly, the halberd broke in the middle. The more corroded parts broke into several pieces and rustled as they fell into the void. Only then did the murderous aura stop. However, everyone present had cold sweat on their foreheads, as if they had encountered a great crisis. Especially Feng Qier, who closed her eyes and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Her small face was frighteningly pale. Fortunately, her soul power was not weak. Coupled with Wei Hong, Su Yi, and the others' deliberate protection, she was not in serious trouble. Su Yi's qi and blood violently shook, and his soul power also set off stormy waves. What a terrifying weapon! Wei Hong's heart almost jumped to his throat. He threw away the remaining halberd in his hand, and did not dare to touch it again. A bloody mess appeared on the palm that held the halberd just now. A halberd that had been corroded to such an extent could not even maintain its shape. However, it still had some residual power. Just a little bit of primordial qi and it exploded with a terrifying power. It was simply too frightening. Even if it's a divine artifact, it's impossible to explode with such murderous aura under such circumstances. Deacon Wu's teeth were chattering and he was horrified. A divine artifact could be immortal for eternity. However, the halberd just now had definitely exceeded the category of a divine artifact. What a pity! Wei Hong did not care about the injury on his palm, and a look of pity appeared on his face. He immediately turned his head and looked at the people around him and asked, "How are you all?" "It's nothing serious." Su Yi and the others shook their heads and took elixirs to heal their injuries. The aura just now was too strong, and it only lasted for a blink of an eye. Everyone was injured to a certain extent, but it was not serious. A halberd that exceeded the category of a divine artifact had turned into pieces and no longer had any spirituality. It was indeed a pity. The group continued on their way. There were countless dead things along the way, but they could not cause any trouble. After walking for thousands of miles, Deacon Wu suddenly said, "Have you all noticed that the further we go, the fewer dead things there are?" Needless to say, everyone had noticed this. After walking for so long, it was even more difficult to encounter a dead thing. However, an even more terrifying scene appeared between heaven and earth. Waves of boundless storms came and went swiftly, and they swept far away from the crowd, connecting the sky and the earth. The withered ground below was crushed, and a large number of broken bones danced in the storm. From afar, it looked like a storm. That's a storm formed by the death qi and blood qi. Try to avoid it as much as possible. If you touch it, who knows what will happen. Wei Hong's face was solemn as he instructed everyone. Everyone nodded in unison. They did not dare to be careless and followed closely. After walking for thousands of miles again, the scene gradually changed. Finally, some vitality appeared on the ground, which was particularly abrupt in this space of dead silence. A majestic mountain range stretched across the horizon, and dense spiritual qi flowed over, making one feel indescribably comfortable. Huge, ancient trees grew, connecting heaven and earth. They were lush and full of vitality. For many days, they had been facing the blood-red sky and the dark brown ground, which made their vision numb. The change of the scene made some people overjoyed. It was as if they had walked into heaven from hell. "Hey, the people behind are following us!" Su Yi suddenly exclaimed. He turned around and saw many auras rushing over from the way they came. They were extremely fast. Not long after, he saw some familiar figures. They were the powerhouses of the Blood Sun sect, 9 Stars Valley, and Big Dipper sect. In addition, there were a few rogue cultivators. Chapter 1290. Other than those figures, there were a large number of dead things behind them. It was as if a black cloud was pressing over, densely packed and innumerable. Almost everyone in the crowd at the front was covered in blood, and they would turn around to attack from time to time, trying to stop the entanglement of those dead things. Ha ha ha! Seeing this, Wei Hong suddenly laughed loudly. His laughter broke through the clouds and clearly reached the ears of those people in the distance. The cowards of the Blood Sun sect are quite courageous. They actually made it here. He crossed his arms and said loudly. Seeing this scene, the people around him were all in a good mood. Without Su Yi's help, the other party was actually chased all the way here by the dead things. It seemed that there were even some casualties among the rogue cultivators. In comparison, the people of the Blue Cloud Hall who had made it all the way here simply felt too blessed. "Why are you all fine?" the 9th-level Origin Emperor of the Blood Sun sect shouted. He turned around and took out a blood sun to fiercely suppress. 2 dead things that pounced in front of him were instantly crushed and turned into broken bones. His figure also shot out explosively, bringing Wu Jiuyou and another Blood Sun sect disciple with him as he quickly rushed over. Wei Hong and the others were all bursting with joy. They looked at this scene calmly and did not have the slightest intention to help. "It's not bad that so many people are rushing over," Sui roughly observed for a while. There were still more than 20 to 30 people who had made it here. They had lost about 30% of their manpower. It had to be said that this loss was not considered much. Compared to the countless dead things, it was already very surprising. Of course, all of this was definitely due to the joint efforts of the Origin Emperors. "Are we going to wait for them?" Deacon Wu asked. Wei Hong waved his hand domineeringly and led everyone to rush towards the mountain range that was full of vitality. He would not care about these things. No matter if it was the Blood Sun sect or the 9-Star Valley, they all had various conflicts of interest with the Blue Cloud Hall. They could not wait for the other party to die. It was even more impossible for them to save people. Sui also had the same thought. In the 9-Stars Valley, he only recognized Elder Tang Wang and had no relationship with anyone else. However, he still glanced at Shang Wangchen and Shui Yuechan who were in the crowd. He noticed that these 2 outstanding disciples were under the protection of their respective sects and did not suffer any serious injuries. Their lives were not in danger for the time being. When Sui and the others crossed the lifeless land and arrived at the border of the land full of vitality, they felt as if they had entered an independent space, like the boundary between life and death. The boundless aura of death disappeared, and the surroundings appeared unprecedentedly peaceful. "Don't be in a hurry to leave." The sudden change made everyone happy, but at the same time they were also wary. Sui waved his hand and everyone stopped. All of this was because the primeval origin supreme art in his body had returned to its normal state after coming here. Sui didn't know why, but he didn't dare to let his guard down, so he stopped. "Let's wait for them." Wei Hong looked behind them. He couldn't see the boundary between life and death, but he seemed to have thought of something. Not long after, under the pursuit of a large number of dead creatures, the group of more than 20 people who had followed behind also rushed over. Seeing that the people from the Ash Cloud Palace were still standing there and looking at them, the people from the Blood Sun sect snorted and rushed towards the mountain without looking back. Behind them, there were still countless dead creatures chasing after them. However, at this moment, something unexpected happened. The densely packed dead creatures covered the sky and the earth. They were startled and followed the experts to this place. The aura of the experts was fierce, as if it could destroy everything. However, when they touched the boundary, it was as if they had hit an invisible wall. Crack, crack, crack. There was no sound of collision, but the crisp sound of bones breaking could be heard. After all the dead creatures hit it, they all shattered into pieces and fell to the ground. Not long after, a mountain of bones was piled up on the ground, mixed with flesh that had not completely corroded and mixed with a foul smell. It flowed all over the ground, making people want to vomit. This Sui, Deacon Wu, and the others looked at each other. This situation was too strange, and they couldn't make sense of it. So many dead creatures were actually hit to death, just like that. There really is an invisible space barrier. Sui was amazed as he saw this point. To be able to block the entry of dead creatures, it wasn't an ordinary space barrier. That's it. Those experts who had been chased to the point of no escape soon discovered this situation. They couldn't help but stop and look back. Their faces were full of shock. Seeing the dead creatures piled up behind them, they finally began to gasp for breath. They were really in a sorry state. Wei Hong, why didn't you encounter any dead creatures? The ninth-level Origin Emperor from the Blood Sun sect swept his cold eyes over with deep doubts. The people from the Ash Cloud Palace were one step ahead, so they should have encountered more dead creatures. Why were they completely fine when they reached this place? On the other hand, which one of them wasn't injured? Some were even covered in blood. If they didn't rely on the protection of experts, they would have lost at least half of their people to reach this place. Perhaps the righteous aura on us is too strong, so the dead creatures don't dare to get close to us, said an old man from the Ash Cloud Palace with a smile. He felt extremely refreshed. That's right, unlike your Blood Sun sect. Look at all of you panting like grandsons, said another person with a smile. Immediately, the sound of panting stopped. They all held their breath at the same time. Whoever panted the loudest would be the grandsons. This action caused the people from the Ash Cloud Palace to roar with laughter again. The ninth-level Origin Emperor from the Blood Sun sect had a deep gaze. His mind turned at lightning speed, and he quickly understood that the Ash Cloud Palace must have some means to avoid being attacked by the dead creatures. Thinking of this result, his eyes became even more gloomy. However, he never imagined that the people from the Ash Cloud Palace could reach this place so easily. It was all related to Sui, and the people from the Ash Cloud Palace would never tell him. Recuperate first. The old man waved his hand and led the people from the Blood Sun sect away. He found a place to close his eyes and recover his strength. At the same time, he also divided a trace of his attention to guard against Wei Hong and the others. The remaining people did the same. They didn't have time to pay attention to the situation around them. They had to recover their strength first. Sui didn't pay too much attention to these people. He began to observe the situation of the mountain range in the distance again. From afar, he could feel endless vitality rushing towards him. It was as if it was the fourth month in the human world. This scene formed a sharp contrast with everything he had experienced before. It was two extremes. I don't know when this ancient ruin was formed. It's too strange. Wei Hong walked to his side and said. His tone was light, but his voice was loud. Chapter 1291. The moon and stars were shining brightly in the sky, and the air was cool and humid. The swamp, which had gone through an open and covert struggle, returned to peace under the attacks of the storm. In the distance, perilous peaks stood tall, and the accumulated clouds and mist wrapped around the mountainside like silk, drifting slowly. A silent aura filled the peaks and valleys. At this moment, the heavens and earth were like a ferocious beast that could erupt at any time, causing people to tremble. The forest was in turmoil, and the faint roars of beasts could be heard. A little bird perched on a treetop, solemnly looking at the swamp. The faintly discernible short feathers on its body shone with a golden-red light under the moonlight. The little bird's gaze was solemn, and its eyes were filled with killing intent as it stared at the surface of the swamp. The bird perched on the branch was Su Xiaoshui, who had left with the Ash Cloud Palace. Recalling how the Blood Sun sect had vowed not to let him go until he was captured, Su Xiaoshui gripped the tree trunk tightly, gritted his teeth, and said hatefully, Blood Sun sect, I will remember this. When I find boss, I will definitely burn your sect. I will flatten your mountain. The Ash Cloud Palace that had escorted him away seemed friendly on the surface, and they were also kind to Sui. Su Xiaoshui understood that. However, he was a phoenix after all, and when he was not strong enough, being cautious was the best choice. Taking advantage of the gap in the night, Su Xiaoshui escaped from the Ash Cloud Palace's line of sight and returned to the place where Su Yi had disappeared, hoping to find some traces of boss Su Yi's disappearance. Su Xiaoshui rolled his red eyes. He did not know whether Su Yi was dead or alive, and he was alone among the Origin ancestor powerhouses with unknown danger. Thinking back to the moment when boss disappeared, it did not seem like he had been swallowed by space. Instead, it seemed like he had entered a secret space. Eh. While he was deep in thought, space rippled above the swamp in the distance, flickering with a whirlpool-like glimmer in the night. Su Xiaoshui looked at the space ripples in surprise. The space ripples seemed to be resonating with his aura, as if they were calling for him. His small eyes flashed with light. What is this feeling? Could it be? Suddenly, Su Xiaoshui's heart was ignited with excitement. Immediately, flames rose around him and demonic qi surged. The shadow of a phoenix appeared behind him. Flames soared into the sky and waves of heat rolled. The small figure shot out like an arrow and pierced through the spatial ripples. "Boss, wait for me. I'll save you." The crisp and resolute voice gradually dissipated as the leaves shook again. The light spots on the ground shook incessantly. At this time, Su Yi and the others in the secret realm were looking at the mountain peaks in the distance that were filled with spiritual qi. The mountains were vast, and the green shadows of the mountains reflected the sunlight. The clouds and mountains blended together, and the huge continuous mountain range stretched as far as the eye could see. It was like an ancient dragon between heaven and earth, sacred and magnificent, making people shrink back at the sight of it. One of the peaks stood alone and towered high into the clouds. Looking at it from afar, it looked like a sharp sword descending from the sky. The peak of the mountain was even more abundant with spiritual energy. Clouds and mist lingered around it, making it look like a paradise on earth. Looking back, the skeletons of the ferocious beasts that had just fallen down were still crawling on the ground. The ferocious beast skeletons that had shattered due to the collision with space were scattered everywhere. Their flesh and blood were corroding and melting at a speed visible to the naked eye. Blood soaked the ground and quickly dyed a large area red. It was a ghastly sight. When the crowd saw the strange scene before them, even the late-stage Origin sovereigns and Origin ancestors couldn't help but frown. In the secret realm, Wei Hong was now the leader of the Blue Cloud Hall. Wei Hong looked at Su Yi, who was deep in thought, and knew that it would be extremely dangerous if they continued to go in. The reason why the Blue Cloud Hall could safely reach here was all because of the young man in front of him. After hesitating for a while, he said softly, "Little brother Su Yi, this place seems rather strange. Are we still going to continue towards the mountain range?" Looking at heaven in front of him and hell behind him, Su Yi was a little shocked. He thought to himself that the strange and mysterious space only repelled ferocious beasts, but they could pass through it safely. The ferocious beasts that forced their way in had a bloody ending. He didn't know what dangers lay ahead. This secret realm was so strange that a dangerous aura emerged in everyone's hearts. At the same time, Su Yi also believed that there must be a great treasure here. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Just now, the Origin Supreme technique had stopped. Even if he relied on the Origin Supreme technique, it wouldn't be difficult for him and the Blue Cloud Hall to escape unscathed. Su Yi raised his eyes and said, "Let's go. We've already come here. There's no reason to shrink back. Besides, we don't seem to have any other choice. Let's go." Immediately, the Blue Cloud Heavens experts shouted in agreement. Wei Hong laughed. "Good. No wonder Elder Xie and Elder Hu Kuan praised Brother Su. Today, I see that you're indeed extraordinary. A hero from a young man. Good. Since Sect Master Su is interested, my Blue Cloud Hall will also participate. What's the harm in charging into the tiger's den?" After saying that, he glanced at the Blood Sun sect that was in a sorry state. The Origin sovereigns of the Blood Sun sect had already adjusted their breathing. Hearing Wei Hong's words, they snorted coldly and said, "How impressive! Don't use words to provoke me. This place is extremely dangerous. There must be a great treasure. Needless to say, we're determined to get the great treasure." Wei Hong was about to flare up when Su Yi saw the two of them fighting and waved his hand to stop them. "The two of you better think about how to enter the mountain." After saying that, everyone fell silent. The dangerous situation just now was still vivid in their minds. Now, no one dared to enter the mountain rashly. Sui nodded and raised his eyebrows. The situation ahead is unclear. I'm afraid that if we go rashly, our lives will be in danger. Elder Wei, pick a few people to go with me. The rest of you rest here. If there are any changes, we can take care of each other. After saying that, Sui looked at the Blood Sun sect. Sui knew that the Blood Sun sect wouldn't be willing to stay here. To avoid adding to the chaos later, he might as well bring a few experts from the Blood Sun sect to be safe. With the Origin Supreme technique, this place seemed to have a great opportunity with the Origin Supreme technique. If the Blood Sun sect launched a surprise attack in the mountain, they would be killed on the spot. Immediately, Sui said, "What about you? Do you want to pick an expert to go with us or go alone?" The Blood Sun sect's Origin Emperor Realm old man's face was cold. Just now, he and the others were in a sorry state, but Sui and the rest were calm. They must have some special methods. He said sternly, "Fine, this old man will go with you. If you see the secret treasure, use your strength to take it. Otherwise, don't blame this old man for being ruthless." Suyi's mouth curved into a strange smile. Wei Hong, who was at the side, was fighting for every inch of land. "You speak as if you can get it. Li Zhangqing, I want to see if your Blood Sun sect or my Blue Cloud Hall can get it." "You!" Sui waved his hand. He knew that if this continued, there would be another fight. He quickly asked the two to arrange the people to go to the mountain ruins. Blue Cloud Hall, 9-Star Valley, and Blood Sun sect each sent their own Origin Emperor Realm experts. Blue Cloud Hall's Deacon Wu, Ling Feng, Hao Yidao, and others were definitely among them. 9-Star Valley also sent a few experts. Core disciple Jing Qiran was among them. Blood Sun sect had Zhong Huai, Li Zhangqing, and Wu Jiu. These three first-rate forces had unbelievably become one in the secret realm. The three groups of people surged their origin chi. They stepped on the void and soared into the sky, preparing to rush towards the mountain. Among the remaining people, second-rate forces like Shang Wangchen and Shui Yuchan could only silently follow Sui and the rest. As for those with lower cultivation bases, they could only stay where they were. The spatial ripples seemed to be calling out to them, waiting for them to return. Along the way, they passed through the forest and vegetation. The closer they got to the mountain peak, the denser the spirit chi was. If it wasn't for the secret treasure, Sui would definitely be meditating here to cultivate his last Origin Yang heavenly bone. On the other hand, the Origin Emperor Wei Hong was getting more and more surprised. The speed of the young man in front of him was actually not inferior to them. He kept up with them steadily and didn't fall behind. The method he used to protect them from the beasts was also very mysterious. This made Wei Hong more and more interested in the young man in front of him. The young lady beside him who had been silent all this time also had a mysterious aura. This kid's talent is extraordinary. If he has the protection of a sect, he will definitely be a peerless expert. My Blue Cloud Hall must not be on bad terms with him. Let's temporarily listen to this kid in the secret realm. The more Wei Hong thought about it, the more he sighed. He, an Origin Emperor, actually had to listen to a young man in this place. Sui and the rest realized that the closer they got, the lower the altitude they flew. In the end, they could only enter on foot. It was as if there was an invisible cover above their heads. Chapter 1292. Sui transmitted his voice to Feng Qier, who was beside him. Follow me closely later. When I tell you to release the poison soul, release it. Feng Qier blinked her innocent eyes and silently agreed. Everyone slowly walked into the dense forest. The surrounding ancient trees towered into the sky, and the dense spiritual energy made everyone feel refreshed. Zhong Huai and the others stroked their beards, their eyes overflowing with excitement. Secret treasure. There must be a secret treasure here. What kind of treasure will be nurtured by such dense spiritual energy? The experts of the Blood Sun sect began to ignore the others. Their eyes were dull, and they began to search around like greedy treasure hunters. The dignified Blood Sun sect is now like a scavenger. Wei Hong snorted and snorted. Ah! After Wei Hong finished speaking, his body kept trembling. His eyes turned turbid and he began to murmur. Find it. There's a secret treasure here, quickly find it. Immediately after, Deacon Wu roared. He no longer had the demeanor of an original void expert. Behind him, the people of the Green Cloud Hall also began to search in the dense forest. Boom! Wei Hong shook his head and calmed his mind. Yuan Qi gathered in his hand and he slapped the back of the Green Cloud Hall expert. The gathered Yuan Qi was channeled into the experts of the Green Cloud Hall. Immediately, their feet loosened and they fell to the ground, blood flowing out of their mouth. Su Yi dodged and supported Wei Hong. After supporting Wei Hong, images flashed in front of Su Yi's eyes. The dense forest in front of him was filled with secret treasures. High-grade star and high-grade yellow-grade herbs were everywhere. Moreover, the Blood Sun sect, Bai Zun, Sacred Mountain, and Wang Chuando were all looking at him not far away. Su Yi's mind kept flashing with the scene of him crushing the Sacred Mountain and trampling on the Blood Sun sect. Then, Su Yi felt dizzy and his body staggered in the void. Quickly leave this place, this is an illusion. We might have been hit by the illusion-type phantom world. Wei Hong shouted weakly. His soul had suffered a great impact. Upon hearing this, Su Yi took Feng Qi'er and rushed backward. His vitality condensed, and a red light shot out from his palm. A red dragon-like waterfall shot out, and a spatial ripple in the distance disappeared into thin air. Elder Wei? Su Yi inquired, looking around vigilantly. Run! Wei Hong shouted one last time before he fainted. Su Yi turned pale with fright. Looking at the crowd again, other than a few Origin Emperor experts who were still struggling to hold on, the late Origin Void Realm experts of the second-rate forces had already lost their focus. They were mumbling to themselves, and their consciousness was gradually fading. I want to become stronger. I want to trample all of you under my feet. Ah! An Origin Void stage expert beside him kept shouting. The one who was shouting was Jing Qiran of the Nine Stars Valley. Seeing this situation, Su Yi immediately gathered his qi and focused his mind. He circulated the Origin technique, and the restless red Origin soul in his body suddenly calmed down. His eyes also became clear. He immediately took Feng Qi'er and flew away from the Blue Cloud Hall and the Nine Stars Valley. Su Yi had only taken a few steps back when he was shocked. Su Yi realized that everyone seemed to have spoken their minds. Usually, they wouldn't dare to say anything, but now they seemed to have the guts to say it. Everyone became greedy, eager, and bloodthirsty. They were like demonic beasts who saw their prey. Burning Sky Halberd, I must have you. With you, I can dominate the world. An expert roared to himself, mixed with a wild laugh. His veins were bulging and his eyes were protruding. Elder Nia, do you think your tricks can fool me? One day, I will ask you in front of the Valley Master. What exactly did I do to make you look down on me? The Origin Emperor of the Nine Stars Valley knelt on the ground and roared to the sky, as if he wanted to vent all the grievances he had accumulated. Profound purple crystal leaf, there is a profound purple crystal leaf here. I have been looking for you for a long time. An Origin Void stage expert from a second-rate force hugged a leaf and cried in pain. Su Yi, little brat, I will capture you alive. Hee, as long as I bring you back, I will definitely be the chief elder. Zhong Huai, do you still want to compete with me? When Zhong Huai heard Li Zhangqing's words, he was instantly enraged. The blood-red Origin Qi in his hand suddenly rose, forming a blood moon. The blood light overflowed into the sky, stirring up the surrounding leaves and sand. His robe fluttered, and an unparalleled wind swept towards Li Zhangqing's direction with a destructive force. Boom! Pong pong! The blood moon flourished, and a fishy smell permeated the air. Zhong Huai's eyes were red like a killing god. His beard fluttered in the wind, and the blood moon grew bigger and bigger. It was mixed with countless broken trees and gravel. Zhong Huai leaped up high and clapped his palms. A huge blood energy ball blasted towards Li Zhangqing with a rumbling sound. "I am afraid of you? Today, I will make sure you lose your life here." Li Zhangqing also seemed to be possessed. It was unknown when a blood-red long saber appeared in his hand. The long saber flickered with blood light, and when he slashed out, it carried a ferocious scarlet saber light. It was like the prowess of Xingtian battle god. Light burst out, and the pressure was impressive. It directly cleaved the air, creating spatial ripples. Instantly, a huge blood-red whirlpool appeared in the air. With a thunderous momentum, Li Zhangqing's figure flashed out from the whirlpool. He instantly dodged the Blood Moon's attack and charged towards Zhong Huai. Rumble! The Blood Moon smashed onto the ground like a cannonball. Its aura shook the surroundings, and the shock waves shook the heavens and earth. The ground that was smashed instantly cracked like a spider web. It was dozens of meters long, and the cracks were like ghastly ravines. Such a confrontation shook the void. The surrounding wind and clouds surged, and the powerful wind blasted in all directions like a storm. Boom! There was another loud sound, and the ground collapsed. At this moment, the ground was like paper, unable to withstand the continuous bombardment of two Origin Emperor experts. It turned into a pit that was dozens of meters deep. It was difficult to see the bottom with the naked eye. Looking at the dense forest again, as the terrifying energy wind spread out, the huge rocks and trees had already turned into dust. As for Blood Sun Sec's Wu Jiao and the other weaker people, they were buried in the huge pit before they could even react. It was unknown whether they were dead or alive. The change in an instant shocked Sui. He took a step with the Fuyao 100 transformation steps and circulated his vitality to the extreme. He dodged the Blood Sun Sec's energy storm and brought Feng Qi to a safer place at lightning speed. Suyi's eyes flashed. Looking at everyone's strange phenomenon, Sui smelled an extremely dangerous aura. Is this really the Mystic Gate illusory spirit world? Is there really such a powerful illusory Mystic Gate illusory spirit world in this world? Chapter 1293. It's all my fault. It's all my fault. Standing beside Sui, Feng Qi-er's pretty face was as white as snow without a trace of blood. Her eyes began to wander, her lips were tightly pursed, and her eyebrows were tightly knitted. She looked listless. While muttering to herself, vitality was generated under Feng Qi-er's feet. She spun around aimlessly in the dense forest. Black qi surrounded her body, and a huge amount of black qi spread throughout the dense forest. Sui looked at Feng Qi-er's head in shock as a black bead condensed above her head again. It slowly stopped 3 feet away from her by Hui acupoint and rotated faintly. It was like a devil's eye that looked down on the world, overlooking the ugliness of all living things. The dense forest that was originally filled with spirit qi began to darken. For a moment, evil winds began to blow. The soul-nurturing pearl was like a huge magnet, attracting the remnant souls from all directions to run towards it. However, the remnant souls in the pearl were like evil spirits trying to escape from outside. For a moment, Feng Qi-er's soul-nurturing bead released a dazzling black light. The remnant souls in the bead scattered in all directions, and a black soul mist swept through the entire dense forest like an energy storm. The ferocious remnant souls invaded everyone's spiritual sea, biting and nibbling at their souls. Feng Qi-er's delicate and pitiful figure seemed to have turned into a demon that could control the world's poison. It was incomparably demonic. Tsk, ah! Cries and howls sounded one after another in the dense forest. Roar! The black wind blew, and the black mist under Feng Qi-er's feet lifted her up like a giant palm. Feng Qi-er's eyes were tightly shut, and her pretty face was pale. There was a trace of undetectable pain in her eyes. Why? Why can't everyone accept me? I've recovered, but I can't go back to the Feng family village anymore. Lord Merciless West, Lord Su-Yi, you saved me, and I'll repay you in this life. I'll work hard to cultivate and not be a burden to you. I'll practice hard, and Qi won't be a burden to you. As Feng Qi-er's melancholy intensified, the remnant soul seemed to have gained energy and began to wreak havoc. It wandered around with a destructive aura. Wherever it passed, the plants withered and the people who had lost their minds became like walking corpses. Not good. Calamity Qi poisoned soul. Feng Qi has also lost her soul. Su-Yi's heart skipped a beat as his mind raced. He knew that if this continued, everyone would lose their lives here. There's no other way. Su-Yi furrowed his brows and gritted his teeth. Primordial Qi swept under his feet and a cold light rose in his eyes as he pounced on Feng Qi. The remnant souls around Feng Qi acted as if they had seen food and pounced on Su-Yi. The black fog surged up into the sky, and the ear-piercing cries of ghosts could be heard. With the black fog below and the spiritual Qi above, one was black and one was white. The dense forest that was originally full of vitality became strange and evil, making people unable to help but crawl. Su-Yi was a soul controller master, so he was not afraid of being eroded by the remnant souls. He simply circulated the Origin Supreme technique to the extreme, and at the same time, the Heaven Origin Demon soul in his mind shone with purple light. Unknowingly, Su-Yi felt a mysterious and vigorous ancient power resonating with the Origin Supreme technique. Even the spiritual energy in the surrounding forest had become close to him, and his chaotic mind had become clear. Su-Yi looked coldly at the chaos in front of him, and he already had an answer in his heart. This is definitely not a man-made mystic illusionary spirit world. The distant ancient aura was very similar to the Golden Dragon mystery realm that handsome Su had brought him to. Could this be another trial plane created by a god's mystery realm? In his mind, the Heaven Origin Demon soul was constantly circulating. When the surrounding remnant souls got close to Su-Yi, they paused and were obviously afraid of him. I see. The corner of his mouth curled up. It turned out that the remnant souls were afraid of his Heaven Origin Demon soul. Under the Origin Supreme technique, the ancient aura allowed him to be at ease and no longer create illusions. Since the remnant souls were afraid of him, Su-Yi was even more fearless. Su-Yi no longer hesitated and instantly arrived near Su-Yi. The remnant souls were like demons as they desperately pounced on Su-Yi, wanting to devour him. Su-Yi stood in the void like an old pine tree in meditation. His soul energy did not move, and no matter how strong the wind and rain hit him, he remained unmoved. His gaze was sharp like lightning, and his origin energy surged, causing Su-Yi's robe to flutter. Su-Yi shook his arm, and a palm of fire attribute origin energy swept towards the remnant souls like a storm. Blazing Fire Heaven's Net Palm. This palm technique was comprehended by Su-Yi from the demon spirit truth. When he used it back then, its power was already extraordinary. Now that Su-Yi was already at the 9th level of the Origin Void stage, it was even more incomparable when he used it again. Countless palm shadows covered the sky and covered the earth. Vaguely, the palm techniques contained the attributes of wind and thunder. The sound of wind and thunder resounded, rising with the wind. The endless palm shadows brazenly landed on the remnant soul with a destructive force, enveloping it completely. Boom! Break! In an instant, a scarlet light blazed like the sun, as if it had the power to destroy heaven and earth had descended. It completely devoured the remnant souls that were enveloped in the scarlet light. The other remnant souls that had yet to pounce on Su-Yi instantly fled in all directions. How would they dare to come forward to court death? Retreat! Su-Yi circulated the Origin Supreme technique. The white mist and scarlet origin energy around him twined around Su-Yi. It was as if he had a divine ring around him, giving off an imposing pressure. At this moment, Su-yi was like a young god of war. The remnant souls that were close to him were immediately suppressed by the mighty aura and turned into nothingness. A bright light flashed across Su-yi's eyes. He took advantage of the momentum and leaped forward to embrace Feng Qi-er in his arms. He brought along an imposing aura that intimidated the remnant souls and landed steadily on the flat ground. Su-yi shouted softly as he circulated the Origin's supreme technique in his hand. He resisted the remnant soul's attack, while he slowly transferred Origin energy from the great void divine ocean into Feng Qi-er's body. Feng Qi-er's pale face slowly regained some color. Feng Qi-er, wake up, wake up! Su-yi called out to Feng Qi-er softly. We have no choice. Feng Qi-er, this is Feng Qi-er's fate. We've taken care of her for 19 years. We didn't take care of her for 19 years in vain. Fourth Ant. The corner of Feng Qi-er's mouth twitched slightly. She looked at the departing figure and walked home like a zombie. Feng Qi-er, I beg you. Ask them to let us go. We didn't do it on purpose. The first elder's humble voice sounded as if it was yesterday. Yes, I can exchange my life for theirs. Feng Qi-er's eyes were firm without any hesitation. We're also doing it for our people. Quick, kill Feng Qi-er. You! Why? Feng Qi-er's brows were tightly knitted and there were tears at the corner of her eyes. It was obvious that she was suffering from unspeakable pain in the illusion. Su-yi saw it clearly. After all, Feng Qi-er did not have the experience of living two lives like him. It would be hard for anyone to get over being killed and framed by their loved ones. You must help her get out of this predicament. This is her inner demon. Otherwise, she will never be able to become Big Brother's disciple. Big Brother, you owe me again. Su-yi shook his head and smiled bitterly. After a few breaths, the Origin Supreme technique allowed Feng Qi-er to gradually regain her consciousness. Her eyes became bright, and the black fog gradually disappeared. The remnant soul was gradually absorbed into the soul-nurturing pearl. On the other side, the people from Green Cloud Palace and Nine Stars Valley had already fainted. Zhong Huai and Li Zhangqing from the Blood Sun sect had also fainted due to serious injuries. Only a few people with lower cultivation were left walking around in circles like zombies. Feng Qi-er stared blankly at Su-yi in front of her. Her mind was blank. Looking at the people on the ground who were on the verge of death and were in tatters, Feng Qi-er realized what she had just done. Her jade-like face contorted, her silver teeth clenched, and tears flashed in her eyes. Drip, drip, bean-sized teardrops flowed down. Feng Qi-er bent her knees and buried herself in them. She did not dare to look at the scene in front of her. Her soft hands were tightly clenched, and her joints were pale. Woo-woo, it's all my fault. It's all my fault. I've harmed everyone. Chapter 1294. It has nothing to do with you. Su-yi softly comforted her. After crying for a while, Feng Qi-er looked up with tear-stained eyes. After going through so much, Feng Qi-er could finally cry for once. Perhaps crying once was the best release for her. Su-yi waited for Feng Qi-er to calm down before patting her shoulder and chuckling. Yes, this has nothing to do with you, so don't worry too much. Feng Qi-er sniffed and said with a trembling voice, Really? None of this has anything to do with me? Feng Qi-er looked at Su-yi eagerly, hoping to get a positive answer. Su-yi looked at Feng Qi-er with tears still hanging from the corner of his eyes. His red lips were like a red plum blossom in the snow. His smile disappeared as he said, Yes, from the moment we came in, we were already trapped in an illusion. Moreover, this illusion was similar to a secret realm's trial. Trial? Feng Qi-er wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and was slightly startled. Yes, we, including everyone else, were trapped in an illusion the moment we entered the forest. Moreover, this illusion did not create a scene that everyone was afraid of. Instead, it created the most fervent desire in everyone's heart. You must have dreamt of the Feng family village earlier, right? Feng Qi recalled the various experiences in the Feng family village and choked with sobs again. This is your inner demon. You have always wanted to be recognized by everyone and return to the Feng family village to become the Feng Qi in the eyes of others. Sui paused for a moment. He looked at Feng Qi who was lost in thought and continued. This illusion seemed to specifically outline everyone's inner desires. Greed, anger, and infatuation, wanting to obtain something but not being able to obtain it. Love gives birth to hatred, and hatred gives birth to resentment. Those who are trapped in this illusion will turn all their emotions into negative emotions and vent them out without any scruples. The more unattainable one is, the more deeply trapped they will be unable to extricate themselves. Sui then pointed at the Origin Void Realm cultivators who were still wandering around. Shang Wangchen and Shui Yuechan were also among them. Some were crying in the ruins while others were searching for something in the forest. All of them were unable to extricate themselves. Who can avoid a person's inner demon? Feng Qi, the past is the past. Don't keep living in resentment and don't live in the eyes of others. You are you. Sui closed his eyes as a faint light fluctuation around his body. This Feng Qi's face stiffened, and he couldn't help but fall into a trance. This was a logic that he had never thought of before. At this moment, the young man had also become distant. His eyebrows were sharp and his eyes were bright. His devilish eyes carried a trace of maturity that exceeded that of ordinary people. He had shocked him time and time again, and he had saved him time and time again. Feng Qi originally thought that by cultivating diligently, concealing his spirit and qi, and cultivating without distractions, he would be repaying Lord Shi Wuqing and Sui. It would be the best footnote of his painful memories. 2. Actually, you know what Big Brother means. He taught you the Calamity Qi poison soul cultivation technique and helped you refine the heavenly fiend's soul-devouring pill. His feelings for you are far more than just a savior. It's a master-disciple relationship. Master-disciple? Feng Qi's eyes widened. A trace of surprise flashed in her eyes. She had never thought of having a master-disciple relationship. It was also something she didn't dare to hope for. Her chest heaved up and down. That's right. Big Brother has always had this intention, but you pretended to understand, Sui said faintly. You are all people with great abilities. How can I be on par with you? As for being Lord Merciless West's disciple, I don't dare to ask for it. I only hope that I can repay Lord Merciless West's kindness with my whole life. Feng Qi said timidly. A trace of disappointment flashed in her eyes. Feng Qi knew that she came from a humble background and had a congenital illness. It was already a great fortune for her to be able to help Lord Merciless West. So this is your inner demon. You are you. Big Brother and I have never treated you as a servant. You are the only Feng Qi in this world. You are the Bawang Sect's Feng Qi. You are the direct disciple of Yama Merciless West. From now on, live your own life. Whoever dares to humiliate you will pay back 1,000 times. Whoever dares to belittle you will pay back 1,000 times. If the mountains and seas bully you, I will flatten them. If the heavens and earth suppress you, I will fight the heavens and earth to the death. As long as you are alive, the Bawang sect will protect you. Remember, you are you. You are not a burden to anyone. Su Yi's eyes were firm, and his voice was clear but sonorous. He knew that these words were not only for Feng Qi, but also for Su Wan'er, Fatty Wang, and the Su family. At this moment, Su Yi understood that he had already become the leader of a sect. The sect leader of the Bawang sect, the sect leader of the Tian Yao school, and the young master of the Su family. The originally weak and insignificant youth had grown through countless heaven-defying battles. His future path would be even more difficult. However, with his courage and determination, Su Yi would be a peerless genius and achieve a hegemony. Feng Qi-er's crescent moon-like eyes became moist again. She looked at the youth in front of her with an imposing aura and a firm tone. She believed that he could do it because Su-yi had already brought her too many miracles. Feng Qi-er also knew that she would no longer be anyone's subordinate. She also had her own value. She was the direct disciple of Merciless West, and she was also a member of the Bawang sect. She could also use her painful shortcomings to help those who she was willing to sacrifice her life for. This is great. So I am who I am. When Feng Qi-er thought of this, her delicate and beautiful face twitched again, and she was about to cry. Pitter-patter. Feng Qi-er's eyes gradually became confused, but the corners of her mouth curled up into a smile that had never been seen before. She was free and at ease, and it was a happiness that she had finally released. It was a happiness that she had never felt before. Big brother Su-yi, I understand. After I leave this place, I will worship Merciless West and won't let you down. Thank you. Feng Qi-er sobbed, and her crystal-clear eyes were as clear as the moon. Great. I also have a good sister. Su-yi's starry eyes turned into a crescent moon, and he was extremely happy. Suddenly, the crystal-clear tears had already wet Feng Qi-er's clothes and dripped down her jade gauze dress to the ground. The two of them looked at each other and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Humph. Cunning human, the first thing I saw when I woke up was that you were deceiving a little girl again. A voice that hadn't been heard for a long time faintly echoed in Su-yi's ears. Then, a graceful figure with straight and slender legs, jade-like skin, bright eyes, white teeth, thick eyelashes, and a charming gaze appeared again, lingering in his heart. That pair of sexy and plump lips constantly revealed a myriad of amorous feelings that lingered in his heart. Qianxue, you're awake? Su-yi was pleasantly surprised and very surprised. Who allowed you to call me Qianxue? Ling Qianxue was at a loss when she heard Su-yi call her that for the first time after waking up. When did you wake up? Ahem. Just now. Did I wake up too early? Feng Qi-er stared blankly at Su-yi, who was talking to the air. She thought that Su-yi had entered the illusion again, and her expression suddenly changed. No. Just in time. I've been waiting for you. Su-yi waved his hand and said. There was no one in front of him, and his behavior was very strange. Don't talk nonsense. The little human sister is asking you a question. Ling Qianxue's voice paused, and she was obviously panicking. Chapter 1295. Big Brother Su-yi, are you alright? Feng Qi-er looked at Su-yi suspiciously, afraid that Su-yi would enter the illusion again. Su-yi then realized that he had been talking to the air. It looked weird to others. He wrinkled his nose and smiled awkwardly. I'm fine. Let's think of a way to get out. Su-yi looked at the dilapidated secret realm. There were broken rocks and trees everywhere, and there were huge pits one after another. He couldn't stay here for too long. It would be dangerous if he stayed any longer. He immediately gathered his qi and used the primordial supreme technique to sense the distribution of spirit qi in the forest. At the same time, the voice sounded in his mind again. Where is this? Ling Qianxue asked faintly. This is a secret realm. As soon as I entered with these people, I was bewitched. These people seem to have suffered quite a bit of damage to their souls. Those with strong cultivations won't have any problems leaving this place, but those who have already turned into walking corpses, I'm afraid their souls will be much weaker than ordinary people. After Su-yi finished speaking, he looked at the wandering experts and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He still had some lingering fear from escaping danger. There's demonic qi here, Ling Qianxue said softly. Demonic qi? Su-yi asked. Yes, the spirit qi here is unusual. It contains a trace of the immemorial demonic beast's aura. This place also seems to be a spirit space set up by the sovereign of the demon clan. It's different from the illusory spirit world formation that you humans used to control with spirit stones. Ling Qianxue said softly. Her gentle and pleasant voice lingered in Su Yi's ears. Su Yi heard this voice that he hadn't heard for a long time, and his heart trembled. After a while, he quickly recovered and nodded. I can sense it. It shouldn't be the illusory spirit world formation. There's no gate of life or gate of death. The entire space is formed naturally and filled with spirit qi. It's like a sealed cultivation space. It's similar to your mysterious space, Ling Qianxue said subconsciously. Su Yi pondered. This place had its own space, which was similar to the space brought about by his mysterious light. However, the mysterious space could be controlled by him. Could it be that this space could also be controlled? It's just that the master of this space wasn't him. Qianxue, how do we get out? Being addressed by Su Yi in such a manner again, she was somewhat stunned that she had never been addressed this way by a 15-year-old boy in all her years of cultivation. Qianxue? Don't call me that. Ling Qianxue reprimanded softly. If Su Yi could see Ling Qianxue's appearance now, he would see that Ling Qianxue's wild face had long been flushed red. The pink clouds had spread to her snow-white neck, and the corners of her eyes were filled with warmth. Big brother Su Yi, look! Feng Qi'er, who was standing at the side, raised her hand and pointed at the spot where she had just cried. Following the direction that Feng Qi'er pointed at, the moisture in the soil that was originally soaked began to evaporate. Crystal-clear teardrops rose from the soil, and a deep black spatial crack appeared on the soil. It was profound and mysterious. The constantly fluctuating spatial ripples entwined around the crack like electric arcs. The crystal-clear teardrops kept rising and adhered to the ripples, forming an exquisite and lustrous water curtain. Just as Su Yi was at a loss for words, the water curtain kept extending from the middle to the two sides, and the spatial crack kept expanding. After a few breaths, it kept expanding into a huge water curtain arched door, and the spatial ripples kept fluctuating like electric arcs. This is the exit? Su Yi looked at the strange scene in front of him and was speechless. Ling Qianxue opened her pink lips and said, "It seems to be summoning us. I just woke up and have only regained my consciousness. I don't have much strength. You have to be careful after you go in." Ling Qianxue was about to tell Su Yi to be careful because Su Yi's strength was still too weak, but she was surprised to sense that Su Yi's aura was already at the 9th level of the Origin Void stage. The vigorous and unstoppable origin energy in Su Yi's body surged. Even the strength of his flesh and blood was much stronger than the demon cub's body. "This is truly a mysterious person," Ling Qianxue muttered. Su Yi took a deep breath and said to Feng Qi'er, let's go. That should be the exit. After he finished speaking, he looked at the people from the Azure Cloud Hall who were still lying not far away. Su Yi was temporarily powerless and could only leave with Feng Qi'er. Perhaps when he broke through the secret realm, the soul suppression on their bodies would be lifted, and they would be able to escape unscathed. He simply went to Wei Hong's side and took out a few bottles of pills from his space bag and placed them beside Wei Hong. He said softly, "Elder Wei, I'll go first. Take care of your sect. I'll pay you a visit when I get out." As soon as he finished speaking, he cupped his fists at Elder Wei and entered the spatial rift with Feng Qi'er. As soon as they entered the spatial rift, it was as if there was a huge suction force that completely enveloped Su Yi and Feng Qi'er. The spatial rift was also sucked in by the two of them and gradually closed. When the last bit of light closed, the spatial rift completely disappeared. After being sucked into the spatial rift, the surroundings were pitch black and strong winds blew. Su Yi felt as if he had entered a spatial tunnel and there were constantly huge rocks flying past him. If he was careless, the huge rocks in the spatial tunnel would smash Su Yi to the point of being unable to heal. Su Yi held Feng Qi'er's hand tightly. The two of them were like pieces of paper as they went around aimlessly in the tunnel. Feng Qi was only at the Yuanzhen realm. Even though she was behind Su Yi, the huge pressure in the tunnel made Feng Qi uncomfortable. After a while, painful groans could be heard. It turned out that the strong winds in the tunnel had no direction. Under the influence of the wind, the constantly flying huge rocks and the huge bones of demonic beasts were enough to destroy a person's body. Su Yi complained incessantly. He regretted not putting Feng Qi into the mysterious space. It would be much easier for him to travel alone in the spatial tunnel with the help of the supreme art of chaos. Su Yi's expression was solemn. Huge rocks that were several feet tall were constantly smashing toward Su Yi. Su Yi knew that things were not going well. He activated the supreme art of chaos to protect himself, and fire attribute energy was generated. Without any hesitation, Su Yi's destructive and majestic aura burst out. He stepped out with the swaying 100 steps and steadied himself in the strong winds. In an instant, he pushed his palms forward. A long red thunderbolt shot out from his palms and swept toward the huge rocks like a dragon. Boom! The huge rocks turned into dust under Su Yi's ferocious energy and scattered in the strong winds. The terrifying aura shook the void, and the strong winds became even more bitingly cold. Whoosh whoosh, in an instant, 7 or 8 huge rocks were smashing toward Su Yi. Not good. There are more and more flying rocks. Su Yi stepped into the void. His eyes darkened. He activated the supreme art of chaos at full force and released a majestic and destructive aura. Boom! Waves of fire attribute energy surged out. Su Yi's figure was like lightning. The swaying 100 steps were unpredictable as he constantly dodged the small rock. Su Yi gathered energy in his palms. Flames seemed to be spreading out from his palms. The blazing golden-red aura was burning the surrounding air. He blasted one palm after another at the huge rocks that kept flying toward him. Fire Shadow Fist. Between his palms there seemed to be a huge heat flow that kept compressing and expanding. The flying flames smashed onto the huge rocks and exploded like cannonballs. Rumble! Bang! Chapter 1296. Su Yi tightly protected Feng Qi behind him. The sound of wind and thunder kept ringing in his ears, and the whistling wind made his face hurt. Su Yi only felt that this place was very strange. He had to use all his strength to break the boulder, which showed how hard the boulder was. Su Yi didn't know that the boulder had been nurtured by the spirit Qi in this space tunnel for tens of thousands of years. With a dull sound, a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Su Yi's abdomen was attacked by the flying boulder. A beast bone instantly hit Su Yi, who couldn't avoid it, and the surrounding air whistled. "Big brother Su, don't worry about me." Feng Qi saw that Su Yi was in a difficult situation. Because he kept taking care of her, Feng Qi felt even more powerless after being hit by the boulder. Her voice was a little hoarse. Su Yi stopped and swallowed a mouthful of blood. At this time, Su Yi's hair was flying in the wind. Under his long eyelashes, his black eyes were solemn and dignified. Ling Qianxue took in every moment. Su Yi, who she hadn't seen for a long time, was still as stubborn as before. His figure looked a lot stronger. His green clothes set off Su Yi's tall and slender figure. Ling Qianxue felt a wave of sorrow in her heart. What had he experienced during this time? Su Yi's eyes were filled with determination and hope. He looked sideways at the weak Feng Qi and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His lips curved slightly. "It's okay. I'm here. I'll protect you." Hearing this, Feng Qi's beautiful eyes trembled. Looking at Su Yi's calm eyes, her chaotic thoughts gradually calmed down. She knew that only by being calm could she not cause trouble for Su Yi. Su Yi and Feng Qi had only been in the space tunnel for a few breaths, but it felt like decades. Huge flying rocks and sharp beast bones flew past their ears amidst the astral winds. The whistling wind made Feng Qi's breathing quicken. Ling Qianxue looked at Su Yi's stubborn figure and her heart trembled. She pouted and said angrily, "Do you like to show off in front of little girls?" Su Yi's eyes flashed with a faint light, like the deep and mature waters of the blue ocean. Su Yi softly said, "If you were a little girl back then just think of me as someone who likes to show off. You." Ling Qianxue was about to flare up, but she curled her lips and no longer looked at Su Yi. Su Yi's words reminded Ling Qianxue of the scene where Su Yi and Su Tianke used their insignificant cultivation to protect her from the blazing dragon emperor. In the end, in order to protect Su Yi and that little bird that called itself Grandpa Sparrow, he self-detonated his Yao Dan. At that time, wasn't Su Yi showing off? At that time, wasn't he showing off as well? The scene of that day was still vivid in her mind. No one would have thought that the dignified demon emperor, the descendant of the 9 spirit links, would have such a deep connection with this weak but determined human in front of her. "What's wrong with me?" Ling Qianxue raised her nose. Ling Qianxue was also puzzled. It had been a long time since her last recovery, but she felt closer to Su Yi than before. It seemed like he was not as annoying as before. His showing off, his bragging, and his actions were all so natural to Ling Qianxue. "Feng Qi'er, be careful. The space tunnel might be stopping soon." Su Yi's gaze was cold. He looked at the flying boulders and beast bones vigilantly to prevent himself from being hit. As time passed, Su Yi noticed that the speed of the boulders was decreasing, and the number of beast bones was decreasing. There was only one possibility. Su Yi and Feng Qi'er had safely passed through the center of the space tunnel. They were now at the edge of the hidden space, and the entrance might not be far away. Su Yi looked down. "There's a crack there too." Ling Qianxue's beautiful eyes were wide open as she called out softly. At that moment, Ling Qianxue was more concerned about Su Yi's life than anyone else. It was not only because of the strange feeling, but also because the two of them had a contract. As long as Su Yi was safe and sound, Ling Qianxue could use Su Yi's mysterious space to recover her soul and body. Following the direction that Ling Qianxue was pointing at, Su Yi noticed an extremely thin crack not far away in the illusory darkness. It was the same as the space crack that they came from. There were electric arcs on it, and the electric arcs that looked like little snakes were particularly dazzling in the dark void. Su Yi was overjoyed. He stepped out with the Fuyao's 100 transformation steps, and a pair of fiery red wings spread out on his back. The wings, which were as thin as a cicada's wings, kept flapping. Su Yi and Feng Qi'er immediately arrived in front of the spatial crack along with the astral wind in the spatial tunnel, but they were suddenly repelled by a huge force. Su Yi's pupils shrank. He poured his yuan qi into his legs and stepped out. He tried to test it more than a dozen times, but he was thrown back like a sandbag by a huge force. Su Yi's eyes revealed a strange look. He looked at the space crack, and his heart was shocked. Could it be that this was not an entrance that could be entered and exited as one wished? Su Yi frowned as he carefully recalled the scene when they first entered the space tunnel. "Feng Qi'er, can you still cry?" "What? Cry? Cry for me?" "Your tears just now were the catalyst that brought us into the space tunnel. Can you cry again now? Can you use your tears to bring us out?" The sound of electric arcs accompanied by the astral wind whistled non-stop. The strong electric light shone on Feng Qi'er's snow-white face. Su Yi looked at Feng Qi'er with a burning gaze, hoping that Feng Qi'er could cry again. Maybe the two of them would be able to get out. After a long while, the two of them looked at each other. Apart from the astral wind, there was no other sound in the space tunnel. The only thing that accompanied the wind was the unique orchid fragrance of a young girl. Feng Qi'er shook her head helplessly. Her pair of watery eyes looked at the eager Su Yi. Feng Qi'er suddenly realized that the big brother in front of her also had a cute side. She smiled and said, "Brother Su Yi, suddenly I really can't cry anymore. Ling Qianxue, who was at the side, was amused. She chuckled and said, "You are really a strange human. One moment you make me cry, and the next you make me feel small. Isn't this torture? Then how can we get out? That's how I came in just now." Sui scratched his head and said dejectedly. After a long while, there was still no sound. Sui took a deep breath and asked Feng Qi to step back. He thought that since they couldn't get out, they could only use force. Feng Qi immediately took a few steps back, while Sui circulated the Origin Supreme technique. A scarlet fire-attributed radiance that was incomparably blazing was accompanied by a vast and mighty power. A huge Emperor Sparrow Phantom appeared behind Sui. An ancient pressure surged out from Sui's feet. Mysterious talismans gradually emerged from the light under his feet, wrapping Sui's entire body. In an instant, Sui's entire temperament changed drastically. The strong wind blew and Sui's black hair fluttered in the wind. Sui was like an ancient war god that had awakened from a deep slumber. He seemed powerful and majestic, like a god that had awakened. The electric arcs in the spatial crack seemed to have sensed something. They reflected the aura on Sui's body and overlap. The space crack and Sui's Emperor Sparrow Phantom were like phoenixes pecking at pearls. Gorgeous energy surged. Just the pressure alone shook the entire space. Ling Qianxue's heart was already in shock. Her eyes flashed with splendor. As the dim phantom appeared in the space, Ling Qianxue's heart also began to tremble. This was the pressure from the ancient demon clan. If she wasn't part of the ancient demon clan, she would have already submitted in fear like the ordinary demon beasts. Chapter 1297. Sui once again displayed his amazing talent, causing Ling Qianxue, who hadn't seen him for a long time, to be shocked again and again. Sui's aura had already reached its peak. His ragged clothes fluttered in the wind, and the light in his eyes was bright and dazzling. Accompanied by the clanging of wind and thunder, Sui's figure leaped up and continuously twisted his body. His figure crisscrossed as he flew down from the top. 9 extinction shaking heaven and earth. In the sky, bolts of lightning split vertically and horizontally in the sky like terrifying electric dragons. The momentum was overbearing and shook the universe. Sui was wrapped in a terrifying aura. The Emperor Sparrow's shadow was dazzling, and the sound of a phoenix's cry resounded in the sky. It was accompanied by countless footprints that landed in the space crack. The terrifying pressure filled the universe, and the lightning on the space crack wreaked havoc. The sonorous buzzes seemed to be able to pierce through the clouds. One kick after another, each kick was 10 times more terrifying than the last, and it produced a heaven-shaking rumble. Feng Qi couldn't help but feel her scalp go numb when she saw this scene. She staggered a few steps and her face turned pale. "Brother Sui is too strong," Feng Qi exclaimed in her heart. As the huge pressure fell on the space crack, Sui retracted his hand seal and retracted his vitality. He took a deep breath. Then, his eyes were like cold swords as he looked at the space crack in silence. His gaze trembled. There was only the whistling of the wind in the air, and there was another awkward silence. A heart-wrenching scream came from the space, and Feng Qi quickly covered her ears. "How do I get out of here?" Sui's face turned ashen. In the afterglow of the setting sun, the reefs by the sea were shrouded in a layer of orange-red halo. The vast horizon in the distance gradually sank, and the red sun was like a fireball. The golden light rippled and shone on the sparkling blue waves. There was a dangerous cliff on the sea. The cliff protruded from the body of the mountain. At this time, it was also dyed with golden light under the gorgeous afterglow. Around the cliff, there were verdant trees and gorgeous flowers. On the dangerous cliff stood an old man who looked to be in his twilight years. The old man's hair and beard were all white, and his body was tall and slender. He stood tall in the sea breeze and the sunset glow, but the wrinkles on his face declared that this old man had lived for a long time. Her white hair danced in the sea breeze. Her pure white clothes were simple and unadorned. Under the illumination of the sunset, it was as if she was shrouded in a layer of fiery red mist. She looked like an immortal in the realm. The mysterious old man narrowed his eyes as he looked at the distant sea and sky. The scene inside the spatial rift was being displayed in the distant sea and sky. A heart-wrenching roar resounded through the border between the sky and the sea. The images of Su-yi and Feng-chi appeared in the void illuminated by the setting sun. The old man's expression was solemn as he watched everything that happened in the spatial rift. Emperor Sparrow's inheritance? The old man stroked his silver beard and murmured. Yes, he obtained the Emperor Sparrow's inheritance from a secret realm. He also obtained the blood essence of our race's phoenix. A slightly immature voice came from beneath the old man's feet. No wonder, the old man said thoughtfully. The immature voice came from a young man beneath the old man's feet. He was about 12 or 13 years old, and his eyes were clear and bright. He had a handsome face. The young man's brows revealed a maturity that was different from his age. Under the sunset glow, the young man's eyes were as bright as the sun. Although he was young, there was a terrifying demonic aura around him. It was otherworldly, unlike the ordinary demonic beasts of the barbarian race. Instead, he had the demeanor of a supreme ruler that dominated the world. It made people feel numb. If there was a peerless expert beside him, they would definitely be able to sense how terrifying this young man's cultivation was. At the age of 12 or 13, he had already reached a realm that ordinary demonic beasts couldn't reach, the mid-stage of the demon ancestor realm. The young man's expression was calm as he sat cross-legged. He yawned towards the distant sky and said faintly, "My boss is all right? Can he come here after passing the trial?" Clap, clap. Interesting, he is indeed a special human. He has the demonic aura and is extremely talented. He is definitely a top existence among humans, and there seems to be a soul in his body. Not bad, he has already passed my first trial. The old man laughed and clapped his hands. Then let my boss continue. The young man looked at the old man fervently. In the space tunnel, Sui looked at the unresponsive space crack and frowned. The lack of a countermeasure for a long time made Sui even angrier. At this moment, the electric arc of the space crack fluctuated, and the wind in the space tunnel intensified. The entire space began to tremble, and Su-yi's expression changed drastically as his body swayed. This is? Su-yi touched the tip of his nose and pondered. Su-yi quickly regained his senses as the space crack in front of him expanded rapidly. The void distorted and outlined a dark, circular arched door. It was exactly the same as the one they had just entered. We can finally get out. Su-yi's eyes lit up. With that thought, Su-yi's vitality chi swept out. His feet left the ground, and his energy swirled in all directions. He pulled Feng-chi into the space crack like an arrow released from a bow. After passing through the crack, the space crack closed again. The space rippled and sent Su-yi and Feng-chi to the foot of a mountain. Night fell and the stars shone brightly. The moonlight was high in the sky, and silver light poured down like a waterfall, illuminating the surroundings. The mottled shadows swayed. A faint moonlight shone on Su-yi and Feng-chi's faces like a veil. Unlike the gusts of wind in the spatial crack, this place was ethereal and dreamlike. The gentle night breeze caressed their faces. Su-yi looked around. It turned out that he and Feng-chi had already passed through the dense forest and arrived at the foot of the mountain. Thousands of blue peaks and steep mountain ranges were in sight. The tallest peak was right in front of them, and milky white mist floated in the shade of the mountain. After the life and death battle in the dense forest and the tunnel, the time in the secret realm had changed from the bright sky to the starlight of the night. "Brother Su-yi, are we still in the secret realm?" Feng Qi also recognized that the mountain range in front of her was the one she had seen with the people from the Green Cloud Palace on the slope. There was a slight fluctuation in Su Yi's clear eyes, like the thousands of peaks and waves in the dark night, moving up and down under the gentle breeze. It was quiet nearby, and only the stars in the sky were accompanying them. The peaks and waves of the mountains were like willows swaying in the wind, and the graceful figures of fairies in the painting swayed under the cold moon. The dense forest in the distance was faintly filled with the low roar of beasts, shaking the forest. For a moment, Su Yi's nervous thoughts also relaxed. Yes, it seems that we still have to cross this mountain range. As long as we reach the highest peak, we should be able to find the greatest opportunity in this secret realm. Su Yi looked up at the mountain peak in front of him, knowing that there must be a great secret hidden there. Thus, he decided to stay in the secret realm. Gnome slang. Cheer, let's rest here for a while. When dawn comes, we will set off to the peak. Exhaustion and hardship had already appeared on Feng Qi-er's face. Although Su Yi had always been in front of her, in terms of cultivation, Su Yi was far more powerful than her. At this time, Feng Qi-er could not rely on breathing to maintain the consumption of her body's functions. Chapter 1298. The moon was warm, and the stars were shining. The moonlight shone through the tree branches, forming mottled spots of light that complemented the airflow and clouds. Su Yi also found a flat area and leaned against a tree. He adjusted his breathing and circulated the Origin Supreme technique with all his might. The crimson light faintly showed the birth of a divine bird, and the cries of dragons and phoenixes. The divine halo around his body was fluctuating, carrying with it a dignified and destructive aura. It emitted an incomparably domineering and destructive pressure, and an astonishing aura filled the air. A tall and slender figure was majestic under the moonlight. The monstrous terror made the barbarian beasts in the distant forest uneasy. They all felt an incomparable fear, and the beasts roared in the forest. Compared to Feng Qi, who was in the Yuan Zhen realm, Su Yi's great void deep sea was complete. An endless stream of Yuan Qi gathered in his dantian along with the moonlight. After successfully cultivating the great void deep sea, Su Yi's dantian Qi sea had already turned into an endless divine sea. His body contained surging Yuan Qi, which was far stronger than those of the same cultivation level. As Su Yi retracted his hand seal, he exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. The energy of heaven and earth filled his body, directly transforming into Yuan Qi that rushed into his limbs and bones. The sore feeling in his body was completely recovered. Su Yi's eyes became clear again. Beside him, Feng Qi was still meditating. There were still some hours before daybreak. Looking at the bright stars in the sky, Su Yi was a little lost in thought. He then found a place not too far away from Feng Qi and sat down. In the blue sky, the stars shone. After looking at them for a long time, they looked like the eyes of the people Su Yi missed. Thinking back to his journey, from the barbarian city to the barbarian demon forest, from the divine sword sect to the chaos region, the Su Yi who had been exiled to the barbarian demon forest for kissing Lu Ruoxi on the street, he had been through thousands of mountains and rivers. Even though he had the qualifications to be a servant, Su Yi had never given up. Battle Saint Mountain, fighting in all directions, establishing the Overlord sect, all of these were things that he had never dared to imagine. Holy Mountain, Su Yi thought of the Holy Mountain, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a sneer. Thinking of the ugly deeds of the Holy Mountain, one day, I will destroy your sect and slaughter your entire sect. However, when he thought of that figure and the letter she left behind, Su Yi felt an inexplicable struggle. He thought back to the Sacred Martial Arts Assembly where the 5 brothers were in high spirits and became famous throughout the world. He also received the legendary title of King of Geniuses. Now that Su Chun and Yen Lin were nowhere to be found, Su Yi believed that as long as he was strong enough, he would definitely be able to make a name for himself in this world, and the reunion of his brothers would be just around the corner. What about the weaker members of the Su family? Su Wan'er and Wang Shangwu had entered the barbarian demon forest for him, and had faced many dangers. They were all people who treated him extremely well. Are they all okay? According to the barbarian beast he had tamed, an old woman had taken Su Wan'er away. He wondered if she was doing well now. Cold seduction, a sleepless night. Instead of helping Feng Qi get rid of her inner demons, the trial this time gave him a deeper understanding of the path of martial arts. What was Tao? What is heaven? What is man? In the distance, the roars of beasts were like muffled thunder, spreading out in all directions and not calming down for a long time. The mysterious ball of light in Su Yi's mind was the same as before, emitting a mysterious ancient aura. For the first time, Su Yi sat down and thought about his various fortuitous encounters and this trial. Su Yi found that compared to the vast spirit secret realm and holy artifact secret realm, the spirit chi in this trial was much more abundant than before. Moreover, this place didn't seem like a dead zone. From the moment he entered to the moment he was forced into the forest, from the forest to the foot of the mountain, the distance seemed short, but it was extremely dangerous. For the first time, Su Yi felt like he was being led by someone. Could it be that all of this is controlled by someone? Or is this a secret realm with divine consciousness? After thinking for a long time, Su Yi decided that he wasn't strong enough, and a lofty feeling of fighting against the heavens arose spontaneously. Only by standing above the world and becoming a peerless expert would he have enough power. If he was strong today, he wouldn't be restrained everywhere in this secret realm. What are you thinking about? A gentle and pleasant voice sounded in his mind. Qianxue, do you have someone you want to protect? Su Yi raised his hand and tapped his chin. Someone I want to protect? My clan is long gone. Ling Qianxue's voice was wooden, and her amber eyes carried a trace of sadness as she said slowly. I'm sorry. Su Yi remembered that when he was fighting the ice and fire double-headed demonic snake, Ling Qianxue had mentioned her hatred for the extermination of her clan. With the explosion of the demon core, the grudges turned into smoke and dust. You seem different, Ling Qianxue said softly. Have I become more handsome? Su Yi's eyes lit up as he asked proudly. No, you're still as shameless as before. Ling Qianxue heard and replied unhappily. Su Yi laughed and looked at the grass and trees in the distance without saying anything. After a long while, Su Yi asked about Su Diang's whereabouts. That chicken? Don't worry, I can feel his aura. He's a true demon sovereign, and won't be in trouble. Su Yi heard this and felt relieved. All this time, Su Yi had always been worried about that arrogant little chicken. What about you? When will you recover? It's still early. I used too much energy last time, and I'm only recovering my divine consciousness. Ling Qianxue said softly. If your cultivation hadn't increased so much recently, I'm afraid I wouldn't have woken up so early. Ling Qianxue told Su Yi that she was still very weak and needed to borrow Su Yi's strength to consolidate her demon core, recover her soul, and then recover her physical body. None of the three processes could be missing. You should cultivate well first. Only when your cultivation increases greatly will it be more beneficial to me. Su Yi's eyes flashed when he heard that. His gaze was burning as he said softly. Don't worry, Qianxue, I will become stronger as soon as possible. I won't borrow your strength anymore. From now on, I will protect the people I care about. Ling Qianxue's heart trembled. After experiencing the pain of her clan being exterminated, she, who originally had no desires, felt her heart ripple. Then what's your next step? This secret realm is full of mysteries. I'm afraid it's not that simple. Ling Qianxue changed the topic. First, think of a way to get out of this secret realm and see what opportunities there are. We'll make plans after that. Whoosh! Feng Qie's face was rosy and calm. When she saw Su-yi, she smiled sweetly and said softly, "Brother Su-yi, I'm ready. When are we leaving?" The sky was slightly bright, and the morning breeze brought the morning fog to shroud the mountain forest. Looking into the distance, a rising sun was slowly rising from the peak of a mountain. The warm sunlight converged with the final ray of dawn. This trial had brought Su-yi far more danger than he had imagined. Su-yi took a deep breath and waved his hand. "Let's go." Chapter 1299. The mountain forest was steep, and the ancient trees towered into the sky. The forest halfway up the mountain was covered in dense shade. The first rays of the morning sun shone through the dense leaves of the forest, embellishing the thick moss with spots of light. From top to bottom of the gloomy and quiet mountainside, the lush forest was like a boundless green wave. Under the morning sun, it was covered in a layer of faint golden gauze. The demonic beasts hiding in the forest were quietly lurking in the dark, waiting for their prey to enter the area. The entire forest was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Suddenly, there was a stir in the forest. A man and a woman were shuttling rapidly between the dense ancient trees. They were Su-yi and Feng Qie. A few green leaves fell to the ground and were quickly burned by the fireball, turning into ashes in the air. Fire attribute vitality qi shrouded Su-yi's body. Multicolored light filled the air, and divine splendor rippled. Su-yi's body was faintly accompanied by the sonorous sound of wind and thunder. The surging vitality qi that was rushing forward carried an impressive pressure. Su-yi used the Fuyao's 100 transformation steps to lead the way, while Feng Qie followed closely behind. She was afraid that she would lose track of Su-yi. Zing! Zing! Su-yi was like a ball of fire as he shuttled back and forth in the forest. The entire forest and even the sky became extremely hot. The water vapor that had accumulated over the night turned into clouds and drifted away as the ball of fire passed by. In an instant, the raging flames swept across with an impressive pressure. The flowers and plants along the way withered, and the ancient trees were charred. The flames carried a destructive power that could burn all living things to ashes as they rolled toward the mountaintop. Roar! The surrounding barbaric demonic beasts that were rushing toward them were all shocked by Su-yi's demonic and majestic aura. Some of the weaker barbaric demonic beasts immediately prostrated themselves on the ground, trembling and growling softly. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Su-yi and Feng Qie had already climbed quite a distance. At this moment, Su-yi was operating the primordial origin supreme art with all his strength. The yuan qi in his body was vast and boundless, and he wanted to reach the peak in one go. In the blink of an eye, as Su-yi neared the mountainside, the primordial chaos supreme art within his body began to stir. The closer he got to the mountaintop, the more he could feel an invisible and endless pressure surging towards him. It poured into his limbs and bones, making it impossible for him to continue forward. At this moment, the entire mountain peak was filled with an obscure aura. Dark clouds were slowly gathering at the peak. He turned to look at Feng Qie, whose eyebrows were slightly furrowed. Sparkling and translucent beads of sweat slowly slid down her cheeks. Feng Qie was trying her best to move forward. Other than the fact that her speed was slightly strenuous, there were no other signs. Su-yi immediately recalled the scene at the Myriad Sword Conference's Heaven's Ascension platform. Without much time to think, Su-yi's heart was filled with an unyielding spirit. The yuan qi energy under his feet was generated, and boundless waves of energy were set off around his body. The yuan qi flowed through the wide meridians in his body, causing a strong spatial fluctuation. Then come at me. The obstruction of the mountain peak's energy stimulated Su-yi's unyielding fighting spirit. His fighting spirit was surging, and his lofty aspiration to compete with the heavens was awe-inspiring. Su-yi's thoughts from the previous night made him realize something. For the protection of his heart, he was willing to submit to the heavens and the earth. Unyielding and proud, Feng Qi'er, who was behind him, was minding her own business as she walked up. She was also shocked by the strange phenomenon around her. Looking at Su Yi's tall and straight back, she immediately sped up. What Feng Qi'er didn't know was how heavy the pressure on Su Yi's body was. This mountain peak was located at the center of the entire mountain range. It was filled with spiritual energy, and it was the place with the deepest pressure in the entire mountain range. At this moment, Su Yi's body was like the center of gravity of the entire mountain range. Every step Su Yi took to reach the peak was strenuous, and his legs began to tremble slightly with every step. The perilous mountain peak was towering, and the surrounding void was filled with many terrifying auras. Accompanied by dark clouds, the heaven and earth were extremely obscure. Su Yi circulated the Origin Supreme technique to the extreme. The primordial qi in his body was surging, but the invisible pressure outside did not lessen by much. Su Yi's gaze was deep, and a ray of light flashed across his eyes. The current Su Yi was protected by the body of the Vajra, the spirit of the golden dragon, and the endless great void spirit. His heavenly origin demon soul was majestic and powerful. It was far from what the Heaven Ascension platform could compare to. Su Yi's slightly pale face was filled with determination. He gritted his teeth and continued climbing. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Feng Qi'er slowly realized that Su Yi's speed was gradually decreasing. When she caught up to Su Yi's face was ashen. His body was glowing with energy like a dazzling sun. The 4 elemental lights on his body alternated. Step by step, he seemed to be struggling, but he still continued climbing. Feng Qi'er's gaze wavered, and she secretly started circulating her elemental primordial qi to protect Su Yi. She followed closely behind. Su Yi looked up. At this moment, his entire body was shrouded in golden light. Feng Qi'er followed closely behind. Su Yi could clearly feel that all the crushing pressure was directed at him. Come on! If he couldn't even conquer a mountain peak, how could he trample on the sacred mountain and tear the Bloodyang sect apart? Su Yi lifted his foot again. At this time, he was already halfway up the mountain. The entire mountain peak was accompanied by dark clouds. The aura fluctuated and began to tremble. An immense pressure shrouded the mountain, and the faint sound of wind and thunder could be heard surging in the clouds. Boom! Thunderous rumbles accompanied the rhythm. As Su Yi moved forward, the sky shattered as if a heavenly drum was being struck. Faintly, the sky changed color. The rumbles trembled slightly in Su Yi's golden energy fluctuations. It was inexplicably breathtaking and frightening. Above the void, the boundless energy waves with a monstrous and obscure aura locked onto Su Yi's body. Su Yi gritted his teeth and continued to climb with his back straight. His thin body was as straight as a spear. At the same time, Su Yi no longer held back the primordial qi in his body. The great void divine sea's primordial qi gushed to his limbs and bones. The Origin Supreme technique continued to circulate. His Vajra body and Heaven Origin demon soul were also at their peak. Continue! Su Yi roared in his heart. With the Vajra body, Su Yi's skin was now crystal clear. His primordial qi enveloped him, and it was as if a divine halo was attached to his body. Su Yi was like a dazzling ball of light, shining brightly. Feng Qi'er's heart was also like a monstrous wave. She was very clear that Su Yi was currently undergoing a huge test. As Su Yi moved forward step by step, the crystal-clear light was also trembling like a ball of flame. The boundless pressure seemed like it would tear Su Yi apart at any time. Above the sea cliff, the setting sun was as red as blood. The sunset glow piled up in the sky, dyeing the vast expanse of the horizon into a gorgeous purple. Boom! The sky cracked and heaven and earth began to rumble. The clear sky was trembling non-stop. Buzz! Buzz! The oppressive and obscure aura was like a cover, shrouding the entire sea cliff. In this small space, a large patch of thick dark clouds slowly gathered. The shadow of a 6 or 7-year-old child sat cross-legged. His eyes narrowed as he looked at the lightning that was faintly discernible in the dark clouds. He took a deep breath and said, "Elder Pring, he is already halfway there. Let's get ready to start." Chapter 1300. At the top of the mountain, Su-Yi gradually walked to 2/3 of the mountain peak. A vast pressure from the ancient times enveloped the mountain peak, and the awe-inspiring pressure swept and suffused the mountain range. The sky rumbled, and the monstrous aura caused one's hair to stand on end. The heavenly origin demon soul was suffused with purple light, and the golden dragon remnant soul was dazzling with golden light, and it faintly emitted a dragon's roar. Feng Qi was stunned. The scene before her eyes was too terrifying. Phenomenon. This is the heaven and earth phenomenon that the Grand Elder mentioned. Feng Qi's footsteps stopped, and then she raised her eyes to stare fixedly at Su-Yi. The concern in her eyes was self-evident. This heaven and earth phenomenon was brought about by Su-Yi. Su-Yi caused this heaven and earth phenomenon. Dark clouds covered the sky, and lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Ling Qianxue, who was inside Su-Yi's body, was even more shocked. Not only was it because Su-Yi, who was at the 9th level of the Origin Void stage, was able to exert such vast energy, but more importantly, it was because she saw the unyielding soul will within Su-Yi's body. Ling Qianxue's heart was filled with awe. Ascending the mountain peak had reached a critical moment, and now she could only remain silent, which was the greatest support for the man before her. In the next moment, a deafening explosion that was like the rumbling of heavenly thunder shook the surrounding demon beasts to the point they knelt down, and the living beings of plants and trees trembled incessantly. Only Su-Yi's deep and cold gaze was without the slightest fear. At this moment, only Su-Yi who was inside could feel the vast and endless pressure. The entire mountain range's heavy pressure seemed to be on his body. Not only was it a crushing pressure on his body, but it was also a shocking and suppressive pressure on his soul. Facing the endless crushing pressure, a crimson light flashed out from between Su-Yi's brows, and the Origin Supreme technique in his body flowed endlessly, and a peerless aura that couldn't be suppressed gushed out once again. At this moment, Su-Yi was like a supreme king that looked down upon the world, and he had the arrogance to surpass the 4 seas. The strong wind in the sky blew, and it caused Su-Yi's clothes to flutter. 3/4. His gaze blazed like the sun, and the attribute light around Su-Yi's body was like a divine halo, and he carried a destructive might as he continued forward. At this time, the mysterious light in Su-Yi's body shone brightly like a blazing sun, burning fiercely, making the light around Su-Yi's body even more dazzling. The mysterious ball of light rippled, and carried with it a domineering and majestic aura as it resisted the pressure of the mountain. Hiss, only 10 steps left. The void trembled, wind and thunder rumbled, and dark clouds rolled. The sound was deafening, and the faint sound of thunder could be heard endlessly in the sky. It shook violently like a warning from the gods. Tsk tisk, Feng Qi's hair was also blown by the mountain wind, and her eyes were filled with a fiery light. Su-Yi strode forward with his head held high. His eyes were filled with courage and determination. Scarlet light filled the air as he walked up step by step. 10 steps, 9 steps, 8 steps. The mountain peak beneath his feet shook under the weight of this young war god. Every step he took seemed to shake the ground, creating a deep ravine. In the blink of an eye, cracks spread out like a spider web. The wind was strong and the world was shaking. Su-Yi's speed was getting slower and slower. The rumbling sound in the dark clouds was endless, like the sound of the heavens. Lightning flashed and electric arcs surged, as if they would fall on the mountain peak at any time. Su-Yi's every step carried boundless pressure. The mountain peak shook and the void flashed. The invisible pressure had already suppressed Su-Yi to the point that his body was shaking and his face was pale. Only Su-Yi, who was under the pressure, knew what kind of willpower he was using to climb to the top. Go! Bam! Su-Yi let out a loud roar. His aura was like a rainbow piercing the sun. The light in his eyes blazed again, and he stomped his foot hard on the ground. 3 steps. At this moment the sky changed color, and the dark and oppressive aura reached its peak. The roaring thunder was like the final judgment of the gods and devils, sending chills down everyone's spines. Feng Qi-er's delicate body trembled, and her eyes were filled with tears. She clenched her fists tightly. Behind Su-Yi, she truly felt how determined Su-Yi was. Big brother Su-Yi, hang in there. You can do it. Feng Qi-er couldn't help but shout. The wind was chilly, and her voice was drowned out by the sound of thunder and lightning. It spread across the entire mountain peak along with the terrain. Su-Yi was still persevering, and the yuan qi under his feet was still surging. However, the corner of Su-Yi's mouth began to bleed. The pressure came again, crushing the soul from the depths. It was as if it wanted to directly crush and obliterate the soul. At this moment, Su-Yi was already out of breath. However, Su-Yi gritted his teeth and continued to move forward step by step. Step by step, his aura became more and more monstrous. Heaven and earth didn't show any signs of weakness and collapsed to the extreme. The pressure was vast and boundless, pervasive, and unstoppable. Retreat. Su-Yi's body surged with a monstrous aura, causing Feng Qi-er to retreat a few miles. Su-Yi's entire body was surrounded by electric arcs. Su-Yi vomited blood, and the light on his body dimmed. Su-Yi's clothes had long been burned into tatters by the electric arcs. From the inside to the outside, his translucent and gentle jade-like skin began to crack. PFFF. Su-Yi vomited another mouthful of blood. Ling Qianshue's heart was in turmoil. She knew that Su-Yi was already injured. She knew that this human with such a low cultivation was actually so powerful. His battle intent was surging, and his battle soul was unyielding. Final step. Above the void, the heavenly thunder rumbled. The silver-white electric arcs that were so bright that they were white converged into a ball. It carried a monstrous aura and was extremely terrifying, as if it wanted to destroy all living things. Don't continue. Ling Qianxue shouted in her heart. Ling Qianshue's pretty face was pale, and her eyes were misty. She was afraid to see the scene of Su-Yi being suppressed by the lightning. Just like how she didn't want to experience the pain of her clansmen dying in front of her again. This is the might of the heavens. It's a warning. Ling Qianshue's shouts were already swallowed by the astral winds that filled the sky. Between heaven and earth, there was only the sound of killing. At this moment, Su-Yi was also injured to the extreme. Su-Yi's body also began to bend. Fresh blood seeped out from the cracks on his body, making him look like a man made of blood. Only the Yuan Qi attribute light was still burning brightly. He was like a young killing god with surging killing intent. This final step was like a heavenly mote. It was the greatest test for this young man. What Su-Yi didn't know was that on a sea cliff somewhere, there was a mysterious old man whose eyes were locked on him. Because beside the old man, there was another person, a young child, who was experiencing the same lightning suppression as him. At this moment, the wind and clouds surged, and the mountains and rivers trembled. Above the sea cliff, lightning struck down from the dark clouds. The bright electric arcs swept towards the young child like a whirlwind. The endless electric arcs, accompanied by the sharp power of the lightning, seemed to want to engulf the sea cliff and destroy everything. The mysterious old man's eyes lit up. Seeing that both sides were experiencing the monstrous lightning tribulation, he couldn't help but be surprised. Come on. The surface of Su-Yi's body surged with a reddish-gold light. His feet stepped on the mountain peak and his back was straight. He stood in the middle of the mountain, like a mighty and unparalleled god of war. Roar! The mighty electric arcs converged into a ball, carrying the might of the heavens. Under the boundless and violent suppression, it swallowed the void and collapsed on the young child's body. Come on! Chapter 1301. On the mountain peak, Sui shook his arms, and a domineering and majestic aura suddenly spread out. The last of the great void sea's vital chi in his body surged and gathered on his palms. His eyes revealed a bloodthirsty and ferocious look. In an instant, a mysterious power filled with divine radiance descended from the sky, and deep dragon roars could be faintly heard from the depths of the void. As the dark clouds descended, an incomparably resplendent light shot out from the clouds. The dragon roars were like thunder, incomparably ferocious. At this moment, the vital chi around Su Yi's body glowed brightly. Fire-type, wind-type, and lightning-type vital chi surged violently. His entire body was golden red, and as Su Yi took another step forward, the light became more and more excited. Roar! Boom! In the blink of an eye, the mountain peak and the void trembled at the same time. Golden dragon suppresses the 9 heavens. An oppressive dragon roar sounded around Su Yi, and a huge golden dragon shadow appeared behind Su Yi. Its divine aura was awe-inspiring, and its resplendent dragon scales shone brightly. Its huge body rolled and swam in the void, swallowing the boundless darkness. In an instant, an extremely terrifying movement shook heaven and earth, and golden light shone, shaking the huge mountain range. Su Yi roared, and the huge dragon shadow, accompanied by a powerful aura, swept towards the peak of the mountain. For no reason, the aura of heaven and earth surged like waves. The mountain peak and trees were like green waves, swaying non-stop under the turbulent aura. The huge golden dragon shadow stretched across the void, and the dragon soared and danced. It was like a dragon roar from ancient times, deeply shaking the souls of those around it. The divine aura suppressed the heavens, and the divine dragon descended, causing the entire heaven and earth to collapse in an instant. The dragon moved its head, and the sky changed color. Thunder rumbled in the dark clouds, accompanied by flashes of lightning. An extremely terrifying aura pressed down on the dark clouds at the peak of the mountain. At the same time, lead-white electric arcs descended from the sky, striking the mountain ridge. The entire void trembled, and the vast mountain range shook violently. The entire mountain range had become a huge high-temperature zone, and white fog was constantly emitting. The dragon's aura was awe-inspiring, shaking the heavens. Above the sea cliff, the void rumbled, dark clouds moved, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. Suddenly, from the depths of the void, a resonant phoenix cry rang out from the child's body and pierced through the heavens. A divine and sanctimonious phoenix shadow flew out from the swamp. The phoenix shadow's eyes were blazing like the sun, as if it wanted to incinerate everything in the world. The divine bird flapped its wings and soared into the sky. Crimson flames filled the sky and contrasted with the sky. The flames shot through the sky and went straight for the thunderclouds in the sky behind them. In an instant, the flames on the sea cliff overflowed into the sky. Golden light filled the air, and phoenix cries shook the sky. They clashed with the thunder in the dark clouds. The toddler was like a pocket-sized overlord. The emperor's disdainful might rose to the extreme. The toddler's eyes were like fire, and his might was not inferior to that of an adult emperor. At this moment, he and Su Yi were defying the heavens and resisting the heavenly thunder. The divine bird suppressed the heavens, and the divine dragon descended, causing the entire world to blur in an instant. Two shocking might collided against the heavens twice. The might of the heavens surged, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled, and it carried the wind and lightning that covered the sky to the limit. Boom! The mountain peak trembled, and the sea cliff shook violently. Feng Qi'er was blasted dozens of feet away by this attack. Under such a vast might of the heavens, her heart was not shaken at all. On the other side, the mysterious elder's heart was also trembling endlessly. The dazzling lightning spread across the entire sea cliff, and the smell of burnt reefs could be felt everywhere. Did he resist it? Feng Qi'er held her breath and clenched her fist. The soles of her feet were trembling, and her eyes were filled with extreme shock. Did he pass? Ling Qianxue pursed her lips tightly. She could feel that Su Yi's breath was still there. Other than the injuries caused by the lightning and heavy pressure, there were no signs of him being too weak. It was just that this level of collision with the heavens was not as shocking and frightening even when she was going through the tribulation. The dazzling light shrouded the mountain peak, making it hard for people to see clearly. At this moment, every second felt like a year. Boom! Boom! Did he succeed? The mysterious elder held his breath and waited. The surrounding seawater seemed to have solidified, and the birds in the sky also fell into a state of stillness. Everything disappeared without a trace in the woven light. The raging lightning began to dissipate, and the dark clouds began to disperse. The sunset was still bright and beautiful. The sea and sky were soaked in the evening glow, and the silky sky reflected the last touch of red. The wind and waves were calm in the distance, and the stars were gradually emerging. Above the Milky Way, the half-hidden white moon was like a beautiful woman's hook, lifting a bead curtain and looking at the Milky Way. The sky suddenly lit up, and the clouds parted to see the sun. The sunlight was like a beam of light that slanted down from the dark clouds that had yet to dissipate. The crisscrossing rays of light fell on the blue back of the mountain, and it was as if countless giant dragons were spitting out golden waterfalls. It was so dazzling that it made people's eyes dizzy. The mountain's shadow was faintly discernible, and the fog in the forest rose. The mountain's shape gradually became more prominent under the golden sunlight. On the mountain peak, Su Yi stood upright with his feet on the ground. His back was straight, and the light around him surged like a supreme king looking down on the world. At this moment, Su Yi was outstanding and proud. His gaze was sincere, and his exposed skin revealed a metallic luster under the golden sunlight. He smiled at Feng Qi'er, who was crawling on the mountainside. "It's a success." Ling Qianxue and Feng Qi'er's eyes were shocked, and they said in unison. In the vast void, above the sea cliff, there was a bright golden light that shot down and enveloped Su Yi and the child. When the light shone on them, a deep and distant aura of spiritual energy flowed into Su Yi's limbs and bones. It flowed along his broad meridians and flowed into the Taishu Divine Sea. Fog filled the air, and the vast energy of heaven and earth rippled and enveloped the entire mountain peak. The surrounding spiritual energy began to condense and gather. Su Yi, who was surrounded by spiritual energy, quickly healed the wounds on his body. His qi dynamic was no longer weak, and his expression gradually calmed down. There was a faint glimmer of divine brilliance. At this moment, Su Yi's golden light was dazzling. When the light dissipated, Su Yi was no longer weak. The wounds from earlier had all healed, and the Taishu Divine Sea was full again. Climb to the top, look down on the world, and be the only one. Chapter 1302. On the other side, the toddler was also enveloped in a divine halo. His chubby body turned from an illusory toddler into a phoenix visible to the naked eye. The wings on his body were more plump, and the scorching aura around him seemed to carry an ancient aura. The mysterious elder beside him looked at him with awe and respect. The waves rolled, and the setting sun was like blood, reflecting on the seawater as if it was draped in a thick layer of red gauze. Whoosh! The seabirds seemed to have smelled a dangerous aura on the cliff from afar. They hesitated for a long time, not daring to approach, and finally fled. Birds chirped, beasts roared, and the muffled sound was like thunder. The red light on the phoenix soared into the sky, and flames filled the sky. Gorgeous energy surged out, and the pressure was so great that the reefs below the cliff shattered, and the void seemed to be dazzling. Gravel surged, and the huge energy wave blasted the reefs into the sky like cannonballs. The seawater around them churned even more violently, and white mist rose. As the divine bird's body temperature kept rising, so did the seawater. The monstrous seawater drew an arc in the sky like a water column, shooting toward the phoenix in the form of an arch pillar. Energy surged around the divine bird's body. Like a giant energy storm, it surrounded the water vapor that was shooting toward it. The fierce airwaves surged with an aura that could destroy everything, colliding with the water curtain. The intense heat caused the air to solidify, and the air within a 10-mile radius around the phoenix trembled. Space domain. The mysterious elder's eyes lit up, and he quickly retreated. He stared at the changes and muttered to himself. The most difficult stage is here. Can you all withstand it? On the mountain peak, Feng Qier's eyes lit up, and her figure flashed to Sui, who was recovering his strength. Brother Sui, are you okay? Sui was surrounded by a divine halo. He looked at the clouds in the sky that were gradually turning red, and his heart skipped a beat. He quickly formed a seal, and the mysterious space opened, bringing Feng Qier in. It's not over yet. Stay here. From the beginning of the secret realm until now, Sui had been carrying Feng Qier. Now that Sui truly felt a dangerous aura, Sui had no choice but to let Feng Qier hide. Sui knew that the real show was about to begin. The sound of wind and thunder resounded in the sky once again. The white clouds were condensing at a speed visible to the naked eye, forming a thick layer. It was different from the thunderclouds just now. At this time, there were even more clouds. In the blink of an eye, the clouds kept rumbling, and the white clouds gradually turned blood-red. The blood clouds continued to pile up, and the entire sky rumbled as if it would be crushed by the blood clouds at any moment. It carried with it the boundless might of an ancient fiend god that had awakened, and it pressed down on the mountain peak. Hua! The blood cloud bloomed. Above the void, the two ends of the blood cloud that were hundreds of feet apart suddenly broke apart. The blazing sun was in the middle of the sky. Sui calmly stared at the blood cloud. Rays of light flashed across his eyes as the blood cloud split open in the sky. Two incomparably huge golden rays of light shot out. The rays of light carried an unparalleled might that could shake mountains and rivers as they slammed into the mountain peak. The energy storm that the golden rays carried was like two terrifying whirlpools that swept across the surroundings of the mountain range. In an instant, the verdant forest turned into a boundless sea of fire. The entire mountain range was filled with beastly roars and miserable cries. All the barbaric demonic beasts were frightened by the flames that could burn the sky and destroy the world. The sea of fire continued to spread, and the lightning in the forest burned everything into nothingness. The monstrous flames exploded around the mountain range once again. The scorching aura filled the air, and the scarlet light soared into the sky. The entire mountain range started to distort. With the mountain peak as the center, everything turned into a blazing hell. The domineering and majestic blazing heaven fire caused the land on the mountain to shrink rapidly. Rumble! The distorted void was completely shattered by the blazing heaven decimating earth, and the entire mountain range started to collapse from the depths of the ground. At this moment, the vitality in Suyi's body surged. His hand seals were instantly formed, and the origin supreme technique in his body was faintly rising. He stepped into the void, and his face was extremely solemn. Sui knew that this wasn't something that he could defeat easily even if he defied the heavens. Move mountains and fill the sea, burn the sky. Countless thoughts flashed through Suyi's mind as he stared at the roaring golden rays in the sky. The void rumbled and the earth trembled. An unparalleled destructive force suddenly rose. Ku! The golden rays dissipated, and a pair of dazzling golden eyes appeared in the midst of the destroyed blood cloud. The entire mountain range was instantly enveloped by the aura of the golden eyes, and the distorted space in the surroundings became extremely hot. Hiss! A divine bird screeched, and its voice was as mighty as the heavenly thunder. The barbaric demonic beasts in the distance all prostrated themselves on the ground in extreme fear. The boundless golden eyes gave people a terrifying feeling, as if they were connected to the primordial universe and everything in the world. It was as if they would fall into a trance if they stared into the eyes of this ancient giant beast. The divine bird looked down at the boundless sea of flames and stared at Su-yi in the mountain range. It was as if it was looking down on the vast world and suppressing millions of ants. Then, Su-yi's mysterious light ball started to burn like a real flame. His eyes were filled with fire, as if they had the abundant energy to communicate with the energy of heaven and earth. Su-yi was in the high-temperature space. He gritted his teeth, and the mysterious energy in his body surged out along with the blazing aura. He was trying his best to resist the aura of the Supreme Being of heaven and earth. Tisk. The violent energy storm on his body caused the wounds that Su-yi had just healed to start to gush out from the inside out. Thick smoke rose from the surface of his body. Su-yi could clearly feel that the yuanyang heavenly bone in his body was melting continuously. The monstrous flames that could destroy everything in the world were corroding and melting his body. Ka. In the great void divine sea, the vast and endless vital chi flooded into his meridians to resist the extremely high temperature from the outside. However, some parts of his body started to crack, and his flesh was badly mangled. The blazing aura was accompanied by the distortion of space. Su-yi's body was also melting and twisting bit by bit. The only thing that was still holding on was Su-yi's unyielding will. Ah! Su-yi roared in his heart. An extremely terrifying aura pierced through Su-yi's heart. The mysterious light ball in Su-yi's heart shone brightly, as if it had a connection with the divine bird in the sky. It automatically activated the Origin Supreme technique, making Su-yi feel slightly better in the high-temperature space. Pfft! Su-yi spat out a mouthful of blood. Su-yi's body started to shake. His legs went soft again, and he crawled on the ground. Blood flowed out of his mouth. In the midst of the muffled roar, the aura of the raging flames gushed out continuously. The sky-burning wind kept hitting the mountain, and the mountain started to fall apart. From the middle, it started to split and collapse to both sides. Su-yi had one foot in the crack of the mountain. The endless pain in his body made Su-yi unable to bear it anymore. He could only watch as he fell through the crack. Destruction. Nirvana? Rebirth. A heavy voice that seemed to have transcended the primordial age came out from the golden eye. It was like the sound of heaven, and it brought along a violent spatial whirlpool as it blasted towards the collapsing mountain. The mountain poured down like a flood and merged with the sea of fire. The entire mountain range that was connected to the mountain had already turned into a vast sea of fire. There were no living creatures, and there was no sign of life. I won't die. I won't die. No matter how tough Su-yi's mortal body was, it had already reached the point of exploding. Even if he could withstand the influence of the mysterious light ball, he couldn't withstand the constant pressure of the high-temperature space on his body and even the depths of his soul. As if it had received the call of Su-yi's unwillingness and tenacity from the depths of his soul, the mysterious space emitted its final light the moment Su-yi fell. It spread out from Su-yi's body, tightly wrapping around Su-yi. After completely releasing the mysterious power of the mysterious space, Su-yi continued to sink. Su-yi's eyes were as red as the sun, and the corners of his eyes were dripping with blood. The aura around his body was wild and terrifying. Chapter 1304. He did not need to use the heart of Heavenly Sun to transform the true Yang fire. He could directly temper his bones like steel and forge the Yuanyang heavenly bones. But this was different from the past. The golden dragon shadow between Su Yi's eyebrows and chest shone, and the dragon patterns on his bones rippled with divine radiance. Every bone became golden red and translucent, constantly emitting a scorching and fierce aura. In addition, Su Yi's body of the Vajra had become more condensed and solid. Even if he was a half-step origin grandmaster, Su Yi would not need the help of the demon god battlesuit and could fight alone for dozens of breaths. The great void divine sea was already in turmoil. Vital qi was surging like seawater. It was waiting for Su Yi to wake up so that he could break through at any time. Su Yi's aura was domineering and powerful. There was also a faint dragon's aura. The golden dragon shadow in the Tian Yuan demon soul was also materializing. It resonated with the purple Tian Yuan demon soul in Su Yi's mind and let out dragon roars. As the dragon's aura dissipated, Su Yi's flesh and blood reached a new peak. The mighty aura lingered in the air for a long time. Above the sky, the layers of ancient beast shadows began to disappear along with the dissipation of the primordial golden dragon. In the sky, only the golden eye that had just destroyed everything was left. Su Yi was shocked by everything in front of him. He did not know if he was in an illusion or reality. If it was an illusion, then everything in front of him was so real. The white mist in the air dissipated. Su Yi found himself on a sea cliff. In the distance, the setting sun was as red as blood. The red haze adorned the void above. The giant golden eye once again occupied the void. Its mighty aura was unparalleled. With a domineering aura that could destroy everything, it stared at Su Yi, who had just woken up. The whole world was filled with light and a demonic aura. Destruction, nirvana? Rebirth? The Phoenix God was right. You are indeed a special human. Congratulations, you have successfully passed the trial of the great golden-winged Pung clan. An ancient heavenly voice floated above the sea cliff. The pair of eyes seemed to have experienced thousands of years. The demonic aura surged like a peerless time master, suppressing billions of lives. Su Yi was shocked. Everything in front of him made Su Yi tremble. The golden eye in the void was the terrifying power that had made him fall into the fire hell. In his mind, the heavenly origin demon soul followed the gaze of the great golden-winged Pung to resist the demonic aura. Great Pung? At this moment, a domineering demon clan supremacy aura gushed out from the cave not far away. Su Yi frowned, and his eyes emitted a terrifying aura. The Yuan Qi in his body surged as he circulated the Origin Supreme technique. The golden dragon phantom in his mind rolled up and down, and the immemorial dragon aura continued to spread, barely resisting the monstrous demon Qi released from the cave. The sovereign of the monster race is undergoing tribulation. The words of the golden-winged rock set off waves of shock in Su Yi's heart. The demon race's supremacy was synonymous with the world's top power. In the distant cave, the flames were soaring to the sky. Boundless demonic qi was constantly leaking out from the cave. It was much more terrifying than any demonic beast he had encountered so far. It was simply overwhelming in terms of strength. Su Yi's heart tightened as he approached. His heavenly origin demon soul felt like it was being suppressed by an invisible force. Is it because I'm too weak? The demonic race's tribulation was of utmost importance. Back then, when the blood jade spirit ginseng was undergoing tribulation, it had attracted the punishment of heavenly thunder. It could only succeed after 2 tribulations. Now, the golden-winged great rock was directly telling him that the demonic race's supremacy was undergoing tribulation in the distance. He was completely ignoring his own strength. Su Yi thought about it carefully. If this trial space was set up by the golden-winged great Pung, then it was understandable that he was restrained everywhere. Power. His power was ultimately too insignificant. What should he do after leaving this place? This was a problem that Su-yi urgently needed to consider. Su-yi's eyes narrowed. His thoughts were in a mess. He felt that the golden-winged great rock's aura had locked onto him. He immediately became vigilant. The golden-winged great rock seemed to have sensed Su-yi's thoughts. His deep eyes seemed calm, but he did not suppress Su-yi's aura too much. He continued, "Human, you have already passed the trial. Your body has the aura of my demonic race. Before I finish my tribulation, why don't I tell you a few stories? How about it? I was originally from the golden-winged great rock race of the ancient demonic race. Like the peacock and the emperor sparrow, I have the bloodline of the phoenix. I have been on good terms with the dragon race for generations. Just now, when I passed the immemorial dragon's breath into your soul, I felt the aura of the golden dragon race on your body. He should have given you a lot of benefits, right?" Su-yi was moved. The dragon race and the phoenix race had been on good terms for generations. The golden dragon race was the most powerful race among the dragon race and had the longest lifespan. The average lifespan of a golden dragon race was hundreds of thousands of years. As a divine bird race, the phoenix race also had an extremely long lifespan. Back in the Golden Dragon mystery realm, he had heard the Golden Dragon talk about these things. The biggest difference between the ancient era and the modern era was that the modern era no longer had peerless powers like the divine dragon and the divine phoenix. Most people regarded the golden dragon and the phoenix as totems and beliefs passed down in the ancient era. No one had ever seen the real dragon and phoenix clan. In this world, if someone knew that the golden dragon and the phoenix race still existed in this world, who knew what kind of bloodbath would occur in the 6 continents, 3 continents and 1 ocean world? The power of the people in this world was too weak. What if they could obtain a god? If they could obtain the inheritance of a god and obtain the power of the heavens and earth, it would undoubtedly be very attractive to cultivators. However, Su-yi had obtained 9 complete drops of the golden dragon's essence blood and 3 strands of the golden dragon's soul. What kind of heaven-defying fortuitous encounter was this? From the mysterious ball of light at the beginning to the ancient scripture of the heavenly fae, the imperial sparrow's essence blood, and the golden dragon's essence blood, they would all bear witness to what a magnificent life Su-yi would begin. Su-yi knew that he had completely passed the golden-winged Great Peng's trial, so he no longer had any doubts. He nodded and told the golden-winged Great Peng everything that had happened in the Golden Dragon mystery realm. "Ha ha, that old dragon has also left? They've all left?" The golden-winged Great Peng's golden eyes flickered and his laughter shook the world. The sea cliff also trembled. His voice shook the heavens and carried the domineering might of a superior being. The golden-winged Great Peng's voice paused for a moment. He seemed to have sensed something and revealed a hint of helplessness. The old dragon is still the one who thinks far ahead. He actually forcefully opened up 8 spaces in order to find a descendant? A strange look flashed across Su-yi's eyes. These ancient divine beasts were truly abnormal existences. The golden dragon and the golden-winged Great Peng before him only had a strand of remnant soul, but they were still able to set up such a huge seal. From the ancient times until now, the power of divine beasts was truly legendary. Chapter 1305. The Golden Peng race was a phoenix bloodline on the same level as the Emperor Sparrow. They should also have a powerful ability to suppress the world. It was rumored that in the ancient era, the Golden Peng's wings were golden and could cover the sky. Its claws could split mountains and break rivers. Its golden eyes could compete with the sun and moon. But today, the secret realm only gave him the dragon breath inheritance. Su-yi didn't understand. The Golden Peng's eyes froze. Then he smiled and said to Su-yi, "This is the story I want to tell you. Listen carefully." The Golden Peng's voice trembled. In the ancient era, the Golden Dragon race, the Phoenix race, and the White Tiger race were all extremely powerful. At that time, I was the one with the highest cultivation base among the Golden Pung race's younger generation. The Golden Dragon race also had a talented genius. As for that little dragon, I only learned later that it was the only bloodline of the Golden Dragon god. At that time, the world was vast and boundless. The entire continent wasn't the current 3 continents, 6 prefectures, and 1 ocean. Before that, the 3 continents, 6 prefectures, and 1 ocean were originally one body. On that continent, the divine beasts of each race guarded a region. Occasionally, there would be some small conflicts, but it didn't cause too much of a dispute. But during a competition, I fought for justice and accidentally tore off that golden dragon's bones. Ah! Even after so many years, the Golden Peng's voice was still filled with pride when he talked about that high-spirited matter. Su-yi was greatly shocked. The Golden Dragon's physical body was extremely powerful. The Golden Pung in front of him was actually able to tear off the Golden Dragon's bones with one claw. Its temper and methods had both reached an unimaginable level. Senior Golden Pung, what happened after that? My Golden Wing clan was born from the Phoenix clan, and we are actually part of the Phoenix clan. The Phoenix clan and the Golden Dragon clan have been on good terms for generations, and together they guard the heaven and earth continent. Lord Divine Phoenix of the Phoenix clan wanted the Golden Rock King to come up with a solution to quell the calamity between the 2 clans. Otherwise, if the 2 clans went to war, the heaven and earth continent would never have peace. Su-yi's heart skipped a beat. The Golden Dragon and the Golden Rock, each of these divine beasts had the power to destroy a first-rate city. Even if it was just a strand of remnant soul, he would still be tortured to death. The more Su-yi thought about it, the more frightened he became. If the Golden Dragon and the Golden Rock race were to go to war, this continent would no longer exist. Swallowing a mouthful of saliva, Su-yi's heart trembled. He probed, "Has the battle started?" Of course not. The Golden Dragon clan has too many branches. Although my Golden Pung clan is powerful, we are only one branch of the Phoenix clan. Lord Golden Pung had no choice but to push me out and let the Golden Dragon clan deal with me. However, that's why I'm willing to be captured. The heavens are high and the earth is wide. I can fly 36,000 li with a flap of my wings. I can swallow the sun and moon with my mouth and cross mountains and rivers with my feet. Who dares to stop me? After that, I killed a few more small dragons. After that, the entire Golden Dragon clan was enraged. They were afraid that a war between the divine beasts would break out. The Phoenix clan was also looking for me in the heavens and earth. Su-yi's expression changed slightly. The temperament of this golden-winged Great Pung was quite similar to his own. Walking between the heavens and earth, just by relying on his lofty sentiments, he could control his own fate and not the heavens. If God blocked him, he would kill God. If Buddha blocked him, he would kill Buddha. Immediately, he had a good impression of the golden-winged Great Pung in front of him. The Golden Dragon paused, as if he was thinking about the past. He couldn't help but be moved. I've known that Golden Dragon since we were young. However, he is the only bloodline of the Golden Dragon god. As his strength continued to increase, the violent aura on his body became more and more serious. Once, I heard that he was cultivating in the Jade Slaughter Sea and encountered a small spiritual nether snake. I happened to be nearby and went to find him to talk about old times. Su-yi raised his eyebrows. The small snake in the eyes of the Golden Dragon wasn't much smaller than a mountain range in the eyes of the present world. Suddenly, the void trembled and the clouds surged. The golden-winged Great Peng's eyes burned with anger. But for his own selfish desires, he wanted to take the small spiritual nether snake for himself and help it cultivate. That small snake fled for 9 days and 9 nights, but it still couldn't escape from the evil dragon's evil clutches. By the time I arrived, the small snake was already on the verge of death. As a fellow divine beast, he actually did such a despicable thing for the sake of cultivation. The anger in my heart was immediately ignited, and I immediately fought with him for 3 days and 3 nights. That battle caused the weather to change, volcanoes to erupt, and mountains and rivers to reverse. The golden dragon recalled the thrill of that battle, his eyes occasionally surging with light. Sui clapped his hands and cheered. In ancient times, the divine beast clan also had such a despicable dragon. According to his personality, he would definitely skin him and pull out his tendons to teach him a good lesson. The golden-winged Great Ping was willing to risk universal condemnation and offend the Golden Dragon clan for the sake of a small snake he had never met before. This courage made Su Yi's blood boil. A surge of battle intent surged as the golden-winged Great Ping spoke. "Senior Great Ping, this junior admires you." Su Yi's eyes were full of praise. The golden-winged Great Ping smiled and looked at Su Yi. After that, I was finally found by the Phoenix clan in Ironwind Valley. During this time, my Phoenix clan had already fought with the Golden Dragon clan several times. Each time, both sides suffered heavy losses. In order to quell the conflict, I finally took out my own Great Ping's golden pearl and had the Phoenix god give it to the Golden Dragon clan. A life for a life. The golden-winged Great Ping was truly a righteous person. He didn't know if it was because he cultivated the Origin Supreme Art, but Su Yi had always felt a sense of closeness to ancient divine beasts and demonic beasts. Hearing that the golden-winged Great Ping was willing to exchange his life for the safety of his clan, his blood trembled. Did the Emperor Sparrow's essence blood sense something? Thank you. Su Yi couldn't help but say these words. After saying this, Su Yi's blood emitted a warm feeling that enveloped Su Yi, making him feel very comfortable. You have the Emperor Sparrow's essence blood in your body, so you should have some faint memories of the Emperor Sparrow. The golden-winged Great Ping emotionally said. After losing the Great Ping's golden pearl, my cultivation greatly decreased and my body lost its strength. I only became a strand of remnant soul. The old Phoenix god went to the battlefield and found the dragon bone. He refined the dragon's aura and used it as a vessel for my soul. Because of this, he specially set up this spatial enchantment and created a space of its own. This allowed my soul to survive for so many years. Su Yi came to a sudden realization. So this space was actually personally set up by the Phoenix god. No wonder it had such a huge amount of energy. If this spatial barrier was really used as a trial, there were probably not many experts in the world who would be able to walk out of it alive. The golden-winged Great Ping had lost its monstrous power. It must be in so much pain that it wanted to die. All of its efforts were given to its enemy. Who could understand that kind of unwillingness? Suddenly, Su Yi's thoughts changed. The golden-winged Great Ping's remnant soul was stored by the dragon bone's aura. That golden-winged Great Ping had given the dragon's aura to him. Senior golden-winged Great Ping, then you. Chapter 1306. The golden dragon's voice was no longer as powerful as before. It sounded a little weak as it said faintly, "The golden dragon and my Phoenix clan are both divine beasts that guard the heaven and earth continent. Even if that evil dragon appeared, it was only a rare occurrence. Most of the divine beasts were once the masters of the heaven and earth continent. They are pure in nature, and when faced with a great calamity, they can unite against a common enemy and fight against it together. When the old Phoenix god brought me to this spirit boundary, I was already a wisp of spirit. After that, my spirit merged with the dragon's breath and I finally recovered less than 10% of my strength. The Phoenix god told me that I was not in the wrong, but sometimes it is difficult to distinguish right from wrong. Such an encounter is also a result of fate. Later on, I found out that the old Phoenix god was right. Everything is because of that Archean calamity. At this point, the golden rock's eyes flickered. It was as if the stars were moving and the universe was in turmoil. Faintly, there was a terrifying scene of mountains and rivers collapsing and the sun and moon being turned upside down. Its voice trembled slightly as it continued speaking. At first, I thought that I would fight to the death in this secret realm. Later on, the outside world experienced a great calamity, and I was lucky to have escaped. However, my clan members, the White Tiger Clan, the Black Tortoise Clan, and the Golden Dragon Clan, were all annihilated in that calamity. Sui had too many doubts in his heart. In the secret realm of ominous spirits, when the giant skeleton was burning, it had left a request for Sui to protect its clan members. The Golden Dragon had also asked Sui to look for it when he reached the Origin Ancestor realm within 3 years. What exactly had happened? Sui was puzzled. What exactly is the Archean calamity? I don't know either. I have always been in the secret realm. However, I know that when the old Phoenix god sent me in, it must have sensed a strange phenomenon in heaven and earth. Otherwise, it would not have gone through so much trouble to find the dragon bone for me, so that I could be ordered to guard this place and have the ability to open the secret realm and find the inheritance. Originally, the heaven and earth continent was much bigger than the 3 continents, 6 prefectures, and 1 ocean now. The reason it became like this is because of the Archean calamity. The Golden Rock's voice trembled slightly. It was still unable to forget the calamity brought about by the Archean calamity. The divine beasts were wiped out and the continent collapsed. The calamity caused by the primordial great calamity was actually so terrifying. Suddenly, Sui felt as if his world was collapsing. Originally, Sui had thought that conquering the Chaos Realm, establishing a first-rate sect, overturning the Holy Mountain, and trampling on his enemies was his greatest goal. Sui fell into deep thought. Compared to the universe, he was just a drop in the ocean. In front of the divine beast's remnant soul, he had no power to resist. How many unknowns in this world were waiting for him to explore? The 3 continents, 6 prefectures, and 1 ocean. The Chaos region and the barbaric demon forest formed the current world. Sui had spent more than 10 years on the barbaric demon forest. How many martial arts experts did the other prefectures have? The sacred mountain was the most powerful force in the central state. What kind of position did the sacred mountain have in the 3 continents, 6 continents, and 1 sea? At this moment, Sui had a bold hypothesis in his heart. The primordial great calamity had brought about the destruction and reorganization of the universe. Then, could the 3 continents, 6 prefectures, and 1 sea be just an inch of land in the vast universe? Sui swallowed a mouthful of saliva and suppressed the astonishment in his heart. Sui's heart was filled with pride. His mysterious light ball had always been mysterious. It might be a mysterious force that came from beyond the 3 continents, 6 prefectures, and 1 sea. Suddenly, Sui had the idea of traveling to the vast universe. Sui believed that with his mysterious light ball and heavenly origin demon soul, he could reach the peak no matter where he was. The golden rock sensed that Sui's aura was fluctuating, and its eyes rippled. This kid is really something. Just now, the golden dragon aura on his body was very strong. It was inexplicably much stronger than when he entered the secret realm. To be able to resist the supreme aura of the demon race and have such a tenacious soul, he is worthy of being called a peerless genius of the human race. Yes, I made the right decision. The golden rock looked at Sui, who was surging with vitality, and made a decision in its heart. It slowly said, "Human kid, since you have received my dragon aura, can you also help me with something?" Sui knew that there was no free lunch in the world. He had received the dragon aura of the golden-winged rock soul, and even the primordial yang heavenly dragon bone, which was even more domineering than the primordial yang heavenly bone. The strength of his bones was invincible among those of the same age. No matter what the request was, Sui had to agree. "Senior, if I can do it, I will do my best." Sui looked at the gradually dimming golden eyes in the sky and bowed deeply. "Good." The golden eyes shone with a trace of light. "I originally wanted to find a member of the demon race. Humans are too weak, and their minds are too fickle." This old man found it hard to believe. "However, the heavens sent you here. You have the supreme aura of the demon race and the blood essence of the Emperor Sparrow. This is really fate. No matter what method you used, you have already passed the first level of my basic test. In the dense forest, you helped that girl to get in touch with her inner demons and used the holy tears to open the sealed door that I set up. This shows that you have a pure heart. On the way up the mountain, you are tenacious and unyielding. The quality of your soul is comparable to that of the demon race's great gods. You will definitely achieve something great. The Tao of Rebirth shows that you have great wisdom between life and death. I believe in this old dragon's vision. You will definitely be able to reach the top of the world." The golden-winged rock's eyes surged with light, and its voice carried a hint of helplessness. It slowly said, "However, you have the bloodline of the demon race, so you should be able to feel a trace of the aura of the immemorial Great Tribulation. Today, the only surviving member of the Phoenix God's bloodline of my race has entered this old Phoenix God's secret realm. It is the will of the heavens. I hope that you can protect my Phoenix race before the Great Tribulation comes." The earth shook and the mountains shook, and flames soared into the sky. In a cave not far away, a loud phoenix cry sounded. The terrifying aura carried with it a storm of energy. It was like a huge storm was crazily tearing the sea cliff apart. The storm of energy swept along the sea cliff and into the sea, immediately setting off monstrous waves. The waves rolled and shook one's heart. "Little handsome?" Sui circulated the Origin's supreme technique. The dragon's might was impressive, and golden light surrounded his body, rippling with divine radiance. Sui raised his eyes and stared at the huge change in front of him. Sui finally understood that the Phoenix God mentioned by the golden-winged rock was actually Little Handsome Su. However, wasn't Little Handsome Su waiting for him outside the secret realm? Why did he suddenly come here to undergo the tribulation? This kid agrees. "I have a deep fate with the Phoenix race. Little Handsome is my brother. I, Sui, will entrust my life to him. I will save him in good or bad times. Those who hurt my brother will be killed. Those who bully my brother will be killed. Heaven and earth, if anyone violates this oath, their divine soul will be destroyed." The golden-winged rock was very satisfied. It guessed that the Phoenix God had completed his tribulation. It slowly said in an extremely weak voice, "One last thing. After the immemorial Great Tribulation, the golden rock pearl of my golden-winged rock will be lost in the mortal world. If a descendant obtains it, it will be fine if that person is kind. However, if that person is evil, will you be willing to kill that person for me?" Chapter 1308. Every step he took was slow, as if he was still not used to walking after the shape-shifting tribulation. However, every step he took was firm and solid. Wherever he stepped, golden light would spread and gullies would spread. "Boss!" A deep and tender voice came from Little Fatty's body. "Little Handsome?" Sui was shocked. He flew up and appeared in front of Little Handsome in a flash. "Little Handsome, is it really you who is undergoing the tribulation here?" Sui looked at the little fatty before him who was emitting a mighty aura. He was still in disbelief. Little Handsome looked at Sui and his eyes wavered. Then, he closed his eyes and fell into Sui's arms. He looked extremely weak. Sui was shocked. He quickly activated the Origin's supreme technique and transferred his vitality from the Great Void Spirit into Little Handsome's body. Boom! An unparalleled demonic aura repelled the Origin Supreme technique, and the huge force shook Sui until he grimaced in pain, his hands trembling nonstop. It's okay. Don't panic. The Phoenix God has just passed the tribulations and is very weak. An old man walked over slowly. It was the golden rock. The golden eye in the sky had disappeared at some point, and an old man with a vast and ancient aura slowly walked over. His silver hair fluttered in the wind, and his body was stooped. He looked haggard, and the wrinkles on his face were like ravines. His eyes were hazy and deep in his eye socket. Sui looked at the old man beside him. He knew that the old man was the golden rock. He was so old. Sui suddenly remembered that after the blood jade spirit ginseng passed the tribulations, it was also very weak and collapsed in his mysterious space. Sui immediately opened up the mysterious space. Dense heaven and earth spiritual chi filled the golden light sea cliff. In the white mysterious space, Sui carried little handsome Su up and placed him beside the spiritual liquid pool. He poured 2 bottles of spiritual liquid into little handsome Su and then found a piece of clothing to cover him. Feng Qir quickly walked to Sui's side and asked in confusion, "Brother Sui? Are you okay? Who is this?" "It's little handsome." Before Su Qi could answer, the blood spirit ginseng heard the sound and flashed out of the herb. When it saw little handsome Su in front of it, its mouth couldn't close. It said in surprise, "This little fatty is little handsome Su?" Su Yi's expression was grave. He grabbed the blood jasper spirit ginseng and said, "Grandpa Ginseng, it's a long story. Please take care of him for me with Feng Qir. I still need to go out. We're not out of danger yet." Blood jasper ginseng nodded and said, "Well, it seems that little commander has passed the shape-shifting tribulation and needs time to recover. You go out first. You can rest assured that this girl and I are here." Sui glanced at handsome Su and walked out of the mysterious space. TSK. Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng looked at handsome Su, who was lying on the ground, and its eyes lit up. "Grandpa Ginseng, is this really little handsome?" Feng Qir asked in disbelief. "Yes. The aura is that bird's. But its cultivation is too heaven-defying." The blood jasper spirit ginseng sighed. It had experienced hundreds of years to pass the initial tribulation, but this phoenix had already reached the demon grandmaster realm in such a short time. "Heavens! You're not fair." The blood jasper spirit ginseng's cries were like waves in its heart that could not be calmed down for a long time. The golden-winged great rock did not enter the mysterious space. The rich spiritual chi in front of it made the golden-winged great rock's heart turn upside down. A supreme treasure. This is a supreme treasure. This human boy is indeed extraordinary. This old dragon really has a unique vision. If I still have time, I really want to see how high this human can reach. This aura is so familiar. This is... The golden-winged great rock felt the extremely rich spiritual chi of heaven and earth that covered the sky and earth, and its heart was piercingly cold. The golden-winged great rock's withered face looked especially ancient under the blood-red light of the setting sun. Then, it shook its head and smiled bitterly. "Interesting. This is all fate." As soon as it finished speaking, Sui walked out of the mysterious space and came to the golden-winged great rock's side. He bowed deeply and said respectfully, "Elder Rock, I'll definitely fulfill my promise. Little Handsome has successfully passed the tribulation, and I've also received the nourishment of your dragon breath. I'm unable to repay the kindness of heaven and earth." The golden-winged great rock's shadow became fainter and fainter. A gratified smile appeared at the corner of its mouth, and it said softly, "Helping the Phoenix God pass the tribulation is something that the Golden Rock clan should do. Unfortunately, my time is almost up, and I was able to find you in a fortuitous encounter. It's truly the fortune of the heavens that you didn't work together to pass the tribulation as brothers. The heavens have blessed us phoenixes." When it finished speaking, The golden-winged great rock's shadow transformed into an incomparably huge golden-winged great rock. Its wings were golden, and its eyes were bright and deep. Its wings stirred up wind, and it flew towards Su-Yi with this energy storm. Boom! When the shadow made contact with Su-Yi's body, it turned into a pure golden light that filled the sky. Countless golden fragments wrapped around Su-Yi's body, forming a golden light shield. The golden wind swept across, and heaven and earth trembled. In an instant, the space rippled, and the aura overflowed. The golden radiance gradually swallowed Su-Yi. A vast aura burst out, and Su-Yi's figure gradually disappeared. The blazing radiance in his eyes was as dazzling as the heavenly fire. Unlike when he came in, Su-Yi's eyes were filled with rippling divine splendor. The pure and holy aura flowed from his limbs and bones into Su-Yi's body. "Young human, remember your promise to me." The resplendent golden radiance filled his entire body and resonated with the heavenly origin demon soul in Su-Yi's mind. Su-Yi only felt a warm current flowing through his blood vessels. His body gradually became limp and very comfortable. His eyes also began to close, and his mind sank into the deep radiance. On the hard ground, not far from the swamp, 3 figures restrained their aura and watched from afar. One of them was a man who looked to be less than 30 years old. He was handsome, with sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He was dressed in a white embroidered robe. The woman beside him was tall and slender. Her slim waist was tightly wrapped in a black muslin, outlining an extremely perfect curve. The moonlight poured down, and the silver splendor gently embellished the woman's face. The woman's lips were like cherry blossoms, and her eyebrows were like ink paintings. Her pair of limpid eyes emitted an indescribable charm. The person in front looked to be middle-aged. He was tall and slender, and there were a few silver strands at his temples. His skin was bright and clear, and the corners of his eyes were long and narrow. His eyes revealed a deep look, and his entire person carried a kind of cold and feminine aura. Chapter 1309. Even though they tried their best to restrain their auras, the demonic aura from their bodies still caused the air around them to freeze. The barbaric demonic beasts around them knew that these 3 were supreme demonic beasts, so they all prostrated themselves and let out low growls from their throats. These 3 people were the Green Emperor and the 2 Yin-Ming Flood Dragons who had agreed to meet up with Su-Yi in the secret realm from another direction. After a period of training, the strength of their auras had improved compared to when they had parted ways. It was obvious that they had encountered a lot of fortuitous encounters. Yin-Ming looked at the calm surface of the swamp. The vast surface of the swamp was quiet and serene, and there was no trace of the secret realm at all. "It's all because we spent too much time on the Crimson Spirit Black Bull. By the time we got here, there was no trace of the secret realm. According to the barbaric demonic beasts nearby, the Blood Sun sect has been chasing after Master, and Master has been swallowed into the secret realm." Yang Ming's expression was gloomy as killing intent surged from his eyes. "Blood Sun sect, when Master comes out, I will definitely make sure that the entire sect doesn't have any peace." The Green Emperor's long and narrow eyes were deep and boundless. He frowned and said softly, "Master's demonic spirit contract with us is still there, which means that Master's life is not in danger. We can only blame ourselves for coming too late and almost allowing the Blood Sun sect to harm Master." After saying that, the Green Emperor clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. A trace of hatred for the Blood Sun sect grew in his heart. "Then what do we do now?" Yin-Ming asked in a low voice. Her voice was charming and firm. The Green Emperor turned to look at Yin-Ming and said softly, "Master should have been in the secret realm for quite some time. He should be coming out soon. We will wait here. The 9 great forces are gathered here, and when the secret realm opens again, there may be a fierce battle. We must be prepared. After saying that, the Green Emperor looked nervously at the calm surface of the water. The oppressive aura caused the space to freeze. Bang! On the surface of the swamp, a strange wave appeared again and spread across the surface of the lake. A golden light suddenly shot up into the sky and filled the sky with a vast and ancient aura. Without the previous blood vortex, the calm swamp began to stir. The turbid mud sank together with the withered grass and beast bones, and soon turned into a big clear lake. Above the lake, a golden whirlpool was stirring up gusts of astral winds. Even the space around it was shaking, and strong winds were surging. The ground began to tremble again. The experts of the 9 forces protected their bodies with yuan qi and tried their best to stabilize themselves on the flat ground. The experts of the various forces turned into light swords and flew around the lake, waiting for the secret realm to open again. "Let's go!" the Green Emperor shouted and shot up into the sky. In the blink of an eye, 3 rays of light, green, black, and white, appeared around the lake. Everyone frowned. The scene before them was too strange. Be careful. There are too many Origin Ancestor Realm experts here. The 2 Origin Ancestor Realm experts over there are even more mysterious and strange. Be careful, the Green Emperor transmitted his voice to the Yin-Yang twins. The Green Emperor's cultivation was at the 8th level of the Demon Emperor realm. He was very powerful, and he was more sensitive to auras than the Yin-Yang hellish flood dragon. Following the Green Emperor's gaze, the Yin-Yang twins realized that the lake was already filled with experts from the 9 forces. There were also many experts gathered in the air. On the other side of the lake, 2 figures stood in the air. Judging from their auras, they should be above the Origin Ancestor realm. Both of them had pulled their hats down, and their faces could not be seen clearly. The 3 of them were slightly shocked. They immediately gathered their demon chi. There were too many experts here. The most important thing now was to escort their master out safely and make preparations in advance. Other things could be put aside for the time being. "The secret realm has opened again," someone shouted loudly. Following the gaze, there were no more cries of ghosts or howls of living beings on the surface of the lake. Instead, there were roars of divine beasts. Roar! An azure dragon shot out, its gigantic body submerged above the void. Its aura was violent, domineering in the void. Dragon roars were heard, shaking the heaven and earth. The group of cultivators were all shocked to the extreme. Hiss! The green dragon turned into a divine beast and soared into the sky. Its divine might was awe-inspiring, and the cries of phoenixes could be heard everywhere. It was dazzling with golden light and carried an incomparably vigorous aura. It was as if it was suppressing billions of lives. Its roars reverberated throughout the universe. It was as if it was going to tear the sky apart. It was extremely shocking. Roar! A huge illusory white tiger appeared in the void. Its roars were sonorous like thunder. It took a step forward, and the sound waves were monstrous. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws. It was as if an ancient mountain was pressing down on everyone's hearts. The huge illusory figures of the divine beasts became denser. Their eyes were as bright as the sun, and some were as bright as the moon. Their roars shook the heavens. Ah! What is that? My head hurts. Many people covered their faces and held their heads. In the face of such a heavenly phenomenon, those with lower cultivation couldn't resist at all. They stuck close to the ground and couldn't move. Blood was flowing out from the corners of their mouth. Obviously, they were under great pressure. Above the vast lake, the heavens and earth changed color. A vast aura swept towards everyone. It was imposing and tyrannical. The barbaric beasts near the swamp also began to crawl on the ground. The huge illusory figures of the demonic beasts were overbearing and majestic. The barbaric beasts' souls were directly pressed to the ground, causing them to tremble and submit. The fluctuations shook the heavens and earth. The space started to distort under the surging energy. Some of the younger disciples with lower cultivation fainted immediately. The phenomenon is too terrifying. Everyone, be careful. An Origin ancestor stood up when he saw the phenomenon. He circulated his cultivation technique to prevent his mind from being damaged. After hearing the Origin ancestors' words, the Origin emperors and Origin ancestors retreated rapidly. They were afraid of getting too close to the lake. They closed their eyes and formed hand seals. Rays of light shot out from their bodies and formed an absolute domain to resist the illusory figure's terrifying aura. "Save me! Save me!" Countless screams sounded again. At this moment, everyone couldn't even protect themselves. Endless panic spread across the lake. Not good. The phenomenon is too terrifying. Should we leave temporarily? An old man covered by a hood shouted. No, the saint has yet to appear. Wait for the saint to appear and bring him back immediately. Another old voice sounded from the hood. The illusory figures whistled and fluctuated, gathering together with monstrous energy. Above the lake, an incomparably huge golden sun appeared in front of him, emitting a loud buzzing sound. This was the second time they were facing the immeasurable sun. Their bodies and souls felt as if they were pierced by the light and locked on the spot. The immeasurable sun continued to emit dazzling rays of light. The rays weaved like lightning and shot towards the land beside the lake, forming a light pillar. Chapter 13:10. Following the light pillar that connected the immeasurable sun to the lake, countless figures were transported out of the light pillar. A group of Origin emperors and Origin void realm experts were expelled by the immeasurable sun and slowly landed on the lake shore. Each of them was battered and exhausted. Their bodies were drenched in blood. Those who were transported to the lake shore were all exhausted. Among them were Green Cloud Hall's Shi Susu, Qin Yuxing, 9 Star Valley's Chao Yunfei, and the others. These were the people who had been swallowed into the space and did not pass the first test. Shi Susu's hair was messy and there were many wounds on her body. Her face was pale and she staggered. She was about to fall on the lake shore. Obviously, she had experienced a fierce battle. Qin Yuxing was also in a trance. His eyes were dull and his yuan qi was chaotic. His footsteps were weak. Seeing the disciples of various sects being transported out one by one, the Origin ancestor realm experts of the major forces felt relieved. If any of these disciples had met with any mishap, even the smallest mishap, it would bring immeasurable losses to the entire sect. As the people were transported out, the crowd realized that most of the disciples of the major forces had been transported out. As for the small forces and rogue cultivators, they had all disappeared in the secret realm due to their lack of strength and foundation. Susu. Hukuan's face darkened. He channeled yuan qi into his feet and his body moved like lightning. He quickly came to Shi Susu and helped her up. Shi Susu's delicate face was deathly pale. Her originally translucent snow-white skin was now covered in wounds, and blood was slowly flowing out from them. Seeing the people from the Green Cloud Hall, Shi Susu's mind relaxed, and her vision blurred. Before Elder Hu and the other two could say anything, their vision blurred and they fainted. Hukuan turned pale with fright and hurriedly channeled his yuan qi into Shi Susu's body. He then took out a bottle of elixir and fed it into Shi Susu's mouth. As soon as the elixir was opened, an extremely rich medicinal smell filled the air. At a glance, one could tell that it was the Blue Cloud Hall's healing panacea. Everyone from Green Cloud Hall, retreat. Hukuan quickly handed Shi Susu over to the experts from Green Cloud Hall and continued to wait by the lake shore. He was terrified. Shi Susu, a peerless genius of the younger generation of Green Cloud Hall, was in such a state in the secret realm. There was no need to mention the others. Hukuan immediately frowned, and a bad feeling arose in his heart. It's the Holy Sun. Under the hood, An old voice sounded slightly agitated. A young man with long hair like a waterfall flew out from the light pillar. He had a handsome face and a jade-like face. His temperament was different from the other disciples of the sect. This man had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. His entire person contained a unique temperament that was ethereal. When he came out from the speed of light, a vast and mighty aura filled the air. His hair was a little messy. With a light tap of his feet, he slowly landed on the shore of the lake. Hukuen's eyes were as sharp as lightning. Looking at the surging energy around the man and the sacred aura that came from the depths of his soul, Hukuen was slightly surprised. That person is someone from the Holy Mountain? Hukuen kept his composure and observed quietly. The man seemed to have sensed something. He stepped out and arrived beside the two old men in a flash. "Let's go, this place is dangerous." "Yes, Holy Son," the two elders replied in a low voice. The two old men immediately activated their absolute domains. While everyone was in a state of chaos, no one noticed the situation here. A strange vortex appeared in the void in front of the two old men, and layers of spatial ripples surged. Holy light rolled, and the golden light wrapped around the Holy Sun like a flood. In the next moment, he disappeared from where he stood. Hukuen saw this and his heart skipped a beat. This secret realm had actually attracted the attention of people from the Holy Mountain. What exactly happened in the secret realm? Hukuen felt more and more that this secret realm was unusual. The sky lit up slightly, and a ray of light shot into the dense forest in the distance. 3 people flew rapidly above the dense forest. They were the 3 people from the Holy Mountain who had just escaped. "Holy Son, what happened?" the man in the robe asked in a low voice. "This place is very strange. We almost died in the secret realm." Among the 3 of them was the 5th Holy Son, Xue Honglu, who had come to the Chaos Realm to look for Su-Yi. At that time, he was also sucked into the secret realm, but did not pass the first test. He had been fighting with dead beasts in front of the mountain and escaped several times. "Holy Son, did you see Su-Yi? He was also sucked into the secret realm." Xue Honglu's secret realm had always been filled with danger, but he hadn't entered the mountain range or encountered Su-Yi. He guessed that Su-Yi had entered the depths of the secret realm and might have obtained a great opportunity. Thinking of this, Xue Honglu was very displeased. "Let's find a place first. We'll talk after I recover." The dense forest was filled with ancient trees. A youth was walking through the forest. He had an imposing appearance and a deep gaze. Suddenly, he felt an expert pass by above him. He quickly dodged into the forest and concealed his aura. In this lawless chaos realm, it was best to be cautious. Is this the chaos realm? Those 3 people's cultivation bases are so strong. Huge waves surged in the youth's heart. Not long after he had arrived in the chaos realm, he had fought a bitter battle with the nearby demonic beasts. The 3 people he had encountered now had stable auras. He couldn't sense their cultivation bases with his spiritual chi, but in terms of density, they weren't inferior to those old monsters in the sect. Is this where little Marshal Granduncle is training? The youth walking through the forest was Situ Muyang, who had come to the Chaos Realm to search for Su-Yi. After the 3 of them passed by, Situ Muyang concealed his aura and continued forward. In the distance, a group of 5 people walked through the forest. They were all wearing the same robes, and it was obvious they were disciples of a large sect. A blood-colored sun was tattooed on their chest. Senior apprentice brother Liu Yang, elder Bai Zun, told us to search for Su-Yi and the secret realm. "Have we gone too far?" asked one of the disciples timidly. The disciple called Liu Yang glanced sideways at the disciple who spoke, and the corners of his mouth curled up. He lifted his foot heavily and kicked the disciple who spoke far away, and he happened to roll at Situ Muyang's feet. Liu Yang teased, "How could you be so careless? Junior apprentice brother, Did you get injured by Sui? He pointed at the disciple who was screaming miserably on the ground. The blood-sun-secked disciple grimaced in pain as he clutched his abdomen and said fiercely, "You!" Lu Yang looked at his junior apprentice brother who was screaming on the ground. That secret realm was so terrifying. Everyone was sucked in. You might want to die, but I don't. Today, your senior apprentice brother will teach you that there are some things you shouldn't be too serious about. Even if we go back, no one will know whether or not we're seriously searching for that bastard Sui. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.